Franklin County Board of County Commissioners now in session for this regular meeting Tuesday, October 15th. It's good to see everyone here this morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. If you would, please stand with me so we can do the invocation and the pledge. Heavenly Father, I thank you today for how near you are to people. Father, today as we come to this meeting room, Father, we thank you today for touching and continue to touch and comfort the lives of all those in these southern states that are dealing with disaster, dealing with discouragement today. Lift them up, we pray, in the name of Jesus. Father, we ask that you would be with us during our time of deliberation, our time of making decisions today. Help us to do the very best we can, not only for this day, but for every day moving forward, for the residents and citizens of Franklin County. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Morone, is there anything that needs to be amended or added to this agenda as it's been published?
Yeah, a few things to discuss, Commissioner. Good morning, Commissioners. First, let me remind you that Mr. Amerson has to put on his other hat, leave and go to the Supervisor of Elections office as we get closer to 10 o'clock. They're certifying some of the election machines today. With that said, there is an agenda item that Commissioner Amerson would like us to defer until he gets back, if we can't get to it before he leaves. That is Mr. Ken Jones. It's item 7. So if, Mr. Chairman, if you would be fluid with that agenda item and move it, either before or afterwards. Also, I got a call this morning from Ms. Whitney Roundtree, and then followed right after that Jennifer Downs about 7:30 this morning. So they no longer will appear before you because the DSNAP program, as I called you guys last week and discussed with you, will set up at Kendrick Park. They decided to go to Kendrick Park and rent some tents and stage out there rather than doing it at the East Point Library. So you can basically scratch Jennifer and Whitney off of your agenda. Mrs. Griffith is early on the agenda because she is getting ready to go to Triumph. And hopefully she will come back with one of those big fake checks from Triumph that says we're getting $750,000 to start the engineering and design for our EMS communication system here in the county, similar to Wakulla County. I know there's some gentlemen here from Alligator Point Fire Department eager, actually probably more eager for that than anybody else. But yes, so know that's why she is early on the agenda. And while she's there, we'll also do that RFQ for CEI services for the St. George Island Stormwater Improvement Construction, since that is her project. So we'll probably start off with that right after you do public comments. Okay. Okay, Commissioner, I think not truly changes. Speaking of Ms. Griffith, this last night she uploaded the narrative to all the items that she had in her report. That was uploaded last night online, and I have a printed copy in the back of the room for anyone that needs that. Right. I think that's it, sir, for right now.
But we don't need to amend the agenda because she posted what she was going to be talking about, just not the narrative.
That's right. She posted all her topics, all of what was action, what was information. Now you just have the backup narrative to explain each item. So no need for treating that like a late ad.
Okay. All right.
I believe that's it, sir.
Okay. So motion to approve the agenda before we proceed. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Anderson.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right. Payment of county bills and approval of minutes.
So move.
All right. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Croom. And we are approving the minutes from the final budget hearing on 9/17. The regular meeting on 10/1 and the regular meeting of 9/17. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right. Up next is public comments. Mr. Ted Ruffner. Please come forward, state your name for the record. You have 5 minutes, sir.
That was quick. Hi, my name is Ted Ruffner. I'm a resident of East Point. I'm also a board member of Gramercy Plantation, the development in 1900, early 1900s. Gramercy was proposed, and there was a series of development orders done, starting in 91, and then there was another one in 1996, that said that they were at one time they were going to have a golf course, and they were going to have 100 and something houses, almost 162 houses, and then in 1996, the county signed a development order requiring that the developer put in a sewer treatment plant. Actually, every one of the development orders required that the developer put in a sewer treatment plant at the development in order, as a requirement for the development. And the development was also described as being 400 acres. In 2003, 2000, there was a development order issued that said that there would be the same thing, 110 down to 110 houses. It went from a PUD to a without a golf course, 110 houses with a little commercial area. They were to put in a sewer treatment plant, and actually this development order was signed by a young lady named Cheryl Sanders. Since that time, the developer did file a plan for the development of 400 acres with the spray fields for the sewer development, for the sewer treatment plant, as you required by your development order, by your 4 development orders that you signed. In 2014, they sold one of the spray fields to a sand and gravel company. The sand and gravel companies mined the spray field out, and I came to the board and I said, you know, what's going on here? This is part of Gramercy. And in the meantime, the president of our organization signed, without permission from the organization, in violation of all our covenants, signed an agreement saying that we would not agree. And one of the reasons is because we were broke and we needed the money from the developer. He withheld stuff. The agreement could not have changed the zoning, but according to the board at that time, the zoning had no relevance and the development order didn't make any difference. Since then, in 2017, they sold another 23 acres to the sand and gravel company that was designated in the development orders and the sewer agreement with East Point Water and the agreements with DEP and everybody else. And that's being mined right now, and that area, that 23 acres, is zoned residential. It's zoned residential. It's inside of Gramercy, zoned residential by the county, and it's being mined by a sand and gravel company. Since then, the developer has now sold another 90-something acres, and we understand is trying to sell everything out and get out of the county. My question is the county, they're doing all this work at St. George Island. Oh, we're doing this, we're planning, the developer has to do this. You did that in 2000, but you didn't make them do it. You didn't make the developer, you didn't ask for a bond. You didn't tell the developer they had to put in the sewer plant, sewer treatment, and they've violated the 400 acres that was designated as Gramercy. Is the county going to stand up and enforce your development orders, or is all the work you're doing in St. George Island and all these other communities, is it for nothing? Why are you doing planning?
Is that all you have, Mr. Tibb?
Yes, anybody?
Yeah, we could address it after public comments, but we're not going to take your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have been to the zoning office. I've tried to get in touch with the new zoning person many times. I've called other people many times, and I don't get any answers back. My understanding, and I don't know why.
Yeah, well, so are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are multitudinous issues there. that don't necessarily all involve the county. If you have somebody signing over land, I mean, that sounds like a lawsuit that y'all need to take care of.
That's
mean-
not the point. That's not the point
Well,
here.
that's what you brought up.
I'm gonna hire an attorney to do
Okay.
that. But the point is what good is a development order that the county signs if you're not going to enforce them? And right
You're
now,
right.
you're not enforcing the development orders.
You're
And
right.
and there's no option to do it. I went to the zoning office and the lady told me that development orders only are good for a year. That's crazy.
Yeah. So was there ever a time that was addressed with the homeowners or with the association about the development order?
What do
Because
you mean?
I'm just being honest. I was told that years ago, you guys all were given a settlement to abandon the development order.
No, that is not true. I can
Okay.
show you a copy of it.
Okay.
The agreement is that and I didn't sign off on it. I was on the board at the time, and I didn't even get a vote on it. The president of the homeowners association did not come to all the homeowners and amend our covenants. 'Cause it requires a majority of the homeowners to amend our covenants. He didn't do that. Because there's no mining in Gramercy. You can't
Right.
mine in a residential area.
Right.
So he signed an agreement that we would not complain about the first spray field, but not the second spray field.
Right.
And that second spray field is 23 acres. It's being mined right now. There was never any environmental work done. There's probably gopher tortoises up there and some other stuff. There's an arc site that was mined out, an arc site that's listed on the Florida archaeological site. It's been mined out. And your development order said that it has to be protected.
Right, so I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, how's the county gonna come in on top of not knowing who's did what, how it's transpired?
Okay, the development order says that the developer, in order to have a development, must put in a water treatment plant.
But you don't want water and sewer.
Who
We've
said
tried
that?
to-
Who said
You
that?
have. We've tried to expand the East Point water and sewer boundaries, and you fought it. You don't want water and sewer.
I never did, and
Yes,
our
sir.
board never did that I ever heard, because I've been on the board for 18
Then I've had a
years.
legislator lie to my face then, because he named you specifically, but we'll go
You
past that.
you did go to the developer, but he said no, when the school wanted to put a pipeline through Gramercy, and they asked him to hook up to that pipeline. I've got the interlocal agreement. I've got a copy of it right in here. The
Sir,
interlocal
just
agreement with
because
the
you get
school.
louder does not mean you're right. Go ahead.
Okay, we don't, okay, the developer still has the right to develop Gramercy, not the homeowners association. All we do is keep the thing mowed and the pool clean. That's all we can do. The developer has the option. So the developer told the people at the time that East Point they wouldn't go with the school to build a pipeline through the middle of Gramercy. I've got a copy of it. If you want to see it, I've got it right here.
This conversation was held 3 years ago, sir. It was not 15 years ago. The school's been there for 17 years.
I know it was signed in 2007. I've got a copy of it. I've got a copy of the interlocal. I showed it. I talked to Billy Fuentes about it last month. He knows about it. There was an agreement that they were going to put in a sewer treatment plant. We didn't say we didn't want a sewer treatment plant. We said the developer did not want to pay any money to get into the pipeline that went from the school that went through Gramercy instead of putting in a water treatment plant.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yep.
So, I usually we don't engage during public comments. I know that, but I know you wanted to get some of that information that you're aware of out there. Here's my recommendation, is to set up a meeting with myself, Justin Steele, our new planner. And I'll say this, Mr. Ruffner, Mr. Steele Justin has been very responsive to every single person that's called, so I don't know what the lack of.
I promise you, I'll
communication-
swear on the stack of Bibles, I've called him
I wouldn't even.
7 times and I've not gotten a call back.
Yeah.
I've called you several times and not gotten a call back.
That is very true, because if you knew, not knowing what happened, so ever since Hurricane Helene, there's been issues with the phone systems, with the building department, my phone, zoning, and some of the others. Verizon just got that, and Verizon does do our desktop phones. They just got that straightened out a few days ago. But that's besides the point. That's not, what we need to do is have a sit down and discuss this, because this has been a conversation that Mr. Ruffner has had with Mr. Currington for years.
Alan Pierce.
That was my next step. Alan Pierce also, I talked to Alan about it too. So what I need to do is bring Justin up to speed on some of Mark's notes and Alan's notes, and then we have a meeting to include, I will ask Attorney Schuler to be included in this meeting so that we have a clear understanding of basically what the chairman is saying. How does the county determine what is actually a civil action between homeowners, homeowner association, and developer versus what the county is responsible for in enforcing? That needs to be clear. It's not as clear as it's being presented today, I assure you of that. But let's go with that, and at some point, we all can come back to you, including Mr. Ruffner. If he's still not pleased with the outcome of our meeting, then he has all rights to come back to the Board of County Commissioners and explain that to you. That is my recommendation to the board.
Michael, can we make sure we have this conversation the second meeting in November? The reason I say that, I know that in the first meeting, Commissioner Croom's name is on the ballot, so I don't plan for us to have a long meeting.
Oh, no, I'm not sure we could even have it, whether or not that was,
Okay.
I'm not sure we could be ready for the 5th
Well,
to have that meeting. Yes, sir. I hear you, loud and clear.
Yeah, because I mean, we do need to kind of hash it out and make sure what we have going on. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I'm not opposed to what Mr. Ruffner's saying. I don't know where the county would come and land in the middle of all the different things that other people have done affecting that property.
Yes.
How we're going to just swoop in and kind of take care of all of it. Because there's things been done we can't undo. We don't have the ability to undo.
And it's not county property,
Yeah,
Mr.
so-
Chairman, it's,
Yes.
That's all
That's
I'm
true,
trying to say.
Commissioner.
I'm not being opposite of you, Mr.
I know,
Chair.
but my question to you is, I'm talking to attorney about suing the developer. Okay, that's not the question here.
Okay.
The question is whether, when the county signs 4 development orders that require a water treatment plant and some other, and that the development be formed in such a way with several environmental, does the county enforce what they said they were going to do? We live in a very, very low area. They wanted a water treatment plant, a sewer treatment plant in that area. You required that before the developer could put a shovel in the ground. Why aren't you enforcing that?
They should have done that before they ever started putting houses in there, Mr. Chair.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. They were supposed to put in all the
Right.
infrastructure on the street. The ditches are all torn up. They said,
Right.
well, we need to fix the ditch. Oh, we're going to do that when we put in the infrastructure for the sewer. That was 20 years ago.
Yep.
But the county didn't make them do it, so they're not going to do it because they don't want to spend the money.
But
And they've sold about $8 million worth of real estate.
Yeah.
So they got the money.
Yeah, well, that's
And now they're
something
trying to
that,
get- now they're
that's
trying to-
something that the homeowners association is uniquely able to address, and it should be addressed.
I'm addressing it.
Well-
I'm addressing it, but I'm saying
So
enforce
who's-
the county.
Who's the
enforce
president of the homeowner association?
Mark.
Why are they not here?
What's
Why
that?
are they not upset about it? Why are they not
They are
communicating with
upset
the
about
county?
it.
They're not here.
I don't need to represent the homeowners association because I have standing as a homeowner.
Okay. I get what you're saying.
And I am on the board. I've been on the board for 19 or 18 years.
Okay.
So it is all the work that you're doing on St. George Island, all those meetings and all the planning and everything. At the end, you're going to sign a development order saying the county requires that you do such and such and such and such, but then you don't make the developer do it.
Sir, you can look back to all the past you want to and try to put that onus on this board. That is disingenuous and is inaccurate. And is that really the only reason you're here?
What other reason would it be?
I don't know. You just said it's been 20 years. What is this, the third time you've came since I've been here in 8 years? I mean, sorry, I'm not trying to be obstinate with you, but you come in here with a whole
Then-
bucket load of things,
Right.
and you're not asking what you want to ask. You're wanting to throw innuendos about other things the county's involved in, the county's doing.
All
And
I'm
that is
saying
out of
is,
place.
is in the county's development order, I don't know if it's an ordinance or if it's a law. Does the county intend to enforce the 4 development orders that you signed for my development? Because it
It sounds like that's the discussion we're going to be having.
Okay.
But for every development order we're doing for this board, it will be enforced. They won't be nobody else building infrastructure and not getting a bond for it.
You didn't require a bond.
There have
for
been
this?
several.
Yeah, you didn't require a bond.
There have
for
been
this.
several in the 2000s and during the Obama crash. Yes, sir, there have been several. There have been several. But it has not been done by this current board.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ted. There, you said that was the only one, right, Michael?
That's the only one that I have. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, so we go to Ms. Griffin doing a bid opening?
Yes.
All right.
And there she is.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to see her. She's on her phone. And she's heading
all
towards
good.
the meeting for the Triumph, that
all good.
Triumph Board meeting.
Yep, it's actually at the Escambia County Commission Chambers. So yeah, I am in safe driving mode.
Okay.
Okay, so Aaron, you want to explain what we're doing here? You actually have two bidders, and I'll say that their names and where they're
Okay.
from. And I think from there, the board will need to make a motion to send it to the review committee, which I believe is myself, Courtney, and Kim. Am I
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Today we are actually opening up the responses for the construction, engineering, and inspection services that will be necessary for the SGI stormwater project. So we're very excited to get that going, and actually, Friday, we are having the mandatory pre-bid meeting for the interested bidders for construction.
All right. And so commissioners, these are for qualification that goes to review that are ranked. There's no no amount that's included. So basically, all I have to read this morning is their names, where they're from. We don't need to open for a bid bond, do we, Aaron?
Nope, there's no bid bond.
All right, great. Okay, so the first one I have on top is Southeastern Consulting Engineers. They have a Port St. Joe address, 1115A Sailors Cove Drive over in Port St. Joe. Southeastern Consulting Engineers Incorporated. And the second is AECom. They're in Tallahassee, Florida, 1625 Summit Lake Drive. And Aaron, those are the two that will be sent to
Okay.
the review committee for ranking and then brought back to the board for award.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm sorry. Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, who is the review board?
Oh,
Who's
it's
the review board? Aaron?
myself. No, not Aaron. She's the one that has a tally. So it's myself, Kim Raffield, and Courtney Bankston.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'd entertain a motion to turn it over to the review committee
So moved.
for recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion, Commissioner? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, as you move on to Aaron's report, I remind everyone there's a separate handout in the back of the room with the narrative that's included with all our topics. That was uploaded to the website yesterday evening.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Aaron.
Okay, Commissioners, first action item. Over the summer, the board approved the grant application and award agreement for the Consolidated Solid Waste Grant. The FDEP grant manager contacted Franklin County and sent the attached amendment, which simply corrects the grant award agreement number. There are no other changes, and this annual operating grant helps to offset some of the costs associated with the solid waste department by providing funds for some fuel expenses, waste tire recycling and disposal, hazardous waste disposal charges, and testing fees. Board action to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the attached amendment to the grant award agreement.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Amison. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right, Ms. Aaron.
Okay, Commissioners, next action item next action item is item number 2. At the September 17th meeting, the board opened bids for the restriping of approximately 4.64 miles of Alligator Drive from the intersection of Gulf Shore Boulevard to the end of Alligator Drive, excluding the recently rebuilt section between Tom Roberts Road and George Voss Road. The sole respondent to the bid was Emerald Coast Striping, and the county's engineers have confirmed that Emerald Coast is also contracted for the next phase of CR 67. The bid amounts are in line with striping line items seen in similar projects. There was, however, a mathematical error in the total bid column. The engineers recommend awarding the corrected base bid amount of $46,202 and the bid alternate of $4,148 for the raised blue safety pavement markers for fire hydrants if desired. Board action to issue the notice of award to Emerald Coast Striping for the base bid and alternate, and authorize the chairman to sign the contract documents once available.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Sanders.
Second.
It has been seconded by Commissioner Amison. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous, 5-0. All right, Ms. Aaron.
Okay, Commissioner, item number 3. Also at the September 17th meeting, the board opened bids for the restriping of approximately 38 roadway sections, which is about 20 miles of roadway, in the District 3 Apalachicola area. Again, as mentioned above, the sole respondent to the bid was Emerald Coast Striping, and the bid was in line with pricing of similar projects. There was also a mathematical error in the project's total bid column, and despite the error, engineers recommend awarding the corrected base bid amount of $151,401. Board action to issue the notice of award to Emerald Coast Striping and authorize the chairman to sign the contract documents once available.
So move.
Second.
That's all
We have a
I
motion
wanted
to approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Sanders. Is there any discussion, Commissioners?
Yes, I got one.
All right, go ahead.
Ms. Aaron, you still on the line?
Yes.
Can
Yep.
you- Just for the public knowledge, can you explain where this funding would come from?
It is actually coming from District 3's paving funds. So that's actually, in the same for the District 2 striping line item. So yes, it will come from your paving funds, Commissioner. And after that, I know that you have some other things too that you would like to see get resurfaced, and we are working on getting task orders for those additional items right now.
Thank you.
Any more discussion, Commissioners? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Please proceed, Ms. Aaron.
Okay, next action item number 4. After discussion with Commissioner Sanders and members of the public who would like to see more pickleball courts in the county, staff requested the attached task order from Dewberry to assist in developing the construction plans and bid award services to transition the tennis court at Kendrick Sports Arena into 2 pickleball courts. The existing court could be resurfaced and refenced, and this would allow for multiple games to be played on site. A new batting cage and expanded field area is also planned, as TDC-funded park improvements will enhance the arena's ability to host tournaments for a variety of sporting events and encourage sports-related tourism stays. Board action to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the attached $7,500 Dewberry task order to be paid by TDC sales tax proceeds.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Croom,
Second.
second by Commissioner Amison. Any discussion?
I've got one question. You said this money is going to be taken out of TDC?
Correct, Commissioner.
Okay, let me ask you something. At what point will the TDC board see this money coming out?
They will actually start seeing it when we start receiving invoices on it. And then, already the sports arena improvements were included in the TDC spending plan. So they are aware that we were doing work actually at DW Wilson Park in Apalachicola and Kendrick Sports Arena there in Carabel.
Okay, thank you, Aaron.
All right. Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right, Ms. Aaron.
Okay, action item number 5. After submitting the permitting application for the St. George Island Boat Ramp Improvements break wall, the county has received a request for additional information, an RAI, on the permit application. Part of this RAI was a request for a hydrographic flushing survey for the SGI boat ramp breakwater. This requirement is not something that the county or the engineers were made aware of as a possible requirement for this project, and unfortunately, there will be an additional marine survey work associated with developing this type of study. A hydrographic flushing study measures impacts to water quality in waterways before and after improvements are made. There are no additional grant funds available to fund this requirement for the permit, but there are funds available in the county's voted improvement fund to cover the additional expense, and FWC agrees that it would be a proper use of the funds. Board action to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the additional $46,500 permitting task order from Dewberry Engineers for the hydrographic study.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve with a question.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Aaron,
second by Commissioner Sanders. Go ahead, Commissioner Ward.
Aaron, you might not be able to answer this, but what is the difference between, I mean, what are they trying to achieve here? It's still gonna, the boat ramp's still gonna go in. What's this study gonna, or survey gonna prove or disprove?
I believe it's probably just going to be something that gets flipped into the file with the Department of Environmental Protection, that the county did the study. Basically, it's just proving that, I guess, that whenever the break wall goes in there, that it's not going to change the flow of the sediments.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know of a better way to say it, but-
$46,000 to do some study that ain't gonna make any difference in the grand scheme of things.
That is correct. Yes.
But is it something we have to have? And I mean, I made a motion, but is it something we have to have?
Unfortunately, it is. Unfortunately, it is going to be part of the checklist as far as for us getting that permit, and even for the improvements at the old ferry dock boat ramp basin. You know, granted, we didn't have to do this flushing study there, but for one, I would imagine it's probably because there are oyster beds nearby for the SGI ramp location. And so that's going to be an FDEP requirement. I mean,
Commissioners,
it's
I'm sorry, Aaron,
it's a 2-year permitting process.
yeah, I kind of defer to Attorney Schuler has said over and over again, when you want their money, you basically got to. Yeah, I mean, I summarize what you said, Attorney West.
I'm shamelessly plagiarizing Alan Pierce, but yes.
And permitting requirements do seem to change often. You know, for example, CR 67, you know, we're still waiting on the permit right now for the phase 4 project. And that one we actually had to pay into a mitigation bank. So that was also something new this year that we haven't had to do in the past for our widening and resurfacing projects. So anytime that you're trying to get permits, you're almost at their mercy, per se.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm just glad we got the money in an account that we set aside for this sort of stuff, because otherwise that's a pretty good chunk of change. But anyway, that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Miss Aaron, I have a question. Is this gonna slow this down any slower than it already is?
Probably just a little bit, Commissioner. Just because, you know, now, of course, we have to go back and have another study completed when, you know, initially we had thought that we had covered everything that would be required for the permit application. So, unfortunately, that probably does add, I would imagine, another 6 months onto the project as far as actually getting the study done, getting it back to them, getting them to review it and accept it.
I mean, I get it. When you involve environmental, I mean, you have to make sure what you're doing is right. So I understand that. I just, I wanted to ask that question because I wanted to make sure the residents of the district, and especially those on the island, understand that it's not us making it want to move slower or not want to, you know, get it done. We've needed a breakwater at that boat ramp since it was started to be used as a boat ramp, because it is very dangerous with the east wind. It's dangerous to even use. But anyway, thank you, Miss Aaron. Any more discussion before we vote?
Mr. Chairman, is that boat ramp accessible right now?
No, because the roads tore it from the hurricane.
So if we have a little delay, it's not gonna
Oh, yeah, no.
prohibit anything is what I was getting at.
No.
So we got some time to play with.
And actually, following on what you brought up, that destruction of that road actually happened during Michael, and we still have yet to get FEMA to commit to repair it. It's made it through every, Miss Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, it's made it through every checklist at least 2 times to get to the final at FEMA. They pull it up on the computer, And because it's a pixelated image, they try to say that they can't fund it, either won't fund it. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. They were actually saying that it was a maintenance issue. Now, after Hurricane Michael, the county actually went in there and we did actually install the new ribbon curb, and we also repaired the road washout. So that project was obligated, and we did get it restored. Believe it was about a year after the county had made the repairs, and then Hurricane Idalia came through. And basically eroded the road again and even collapsed a portion of the seawall. So the argument with FEMA, even though the state FEMA personnel actually agrees with the county that it was not a pre-existing condition, by the time it makes it up to Washington, D.C., they're actually going by some aerial images and have actually come back to the county and said that it was a lack of maintenance on our part and it was pre-existing. That is not the case. We even have, basically photographic evidence which showed the wall prior to Idalia actually not being collapsed, and then right after Idalia, the section of seawall is actually laying in the water. But we have just had an impossible time getting traction for the federal FEMA representatives to actually agree with the state FEMA personnel.
Right. Well, and during the time that we here at Franklin County still thought that Hurricane Helene might be coming more toward us than anybody else, Commissioner Sanders and I met with Senator Scott. He was at the sheriff's office locally, did a press conference with him, and we took time after that conference. I talked to him. I know the commissioner did as well about other things, but I talked to him about this issue specifically because I believe it to be a FEMA issue. So I have yet to get a final clarification back in an email from Miss Katie Doty that works with him, part of his staff. Actually, her mom's one of the fact staff members, Miss Anna. But so we are working on that. So hopefully we can come to some kind of conclusion with the senator's help.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. All right. So we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Go ahead, Ms. Herring.
Okay, Commissioners, next item number 6. The county has received a request for assistance from the SGI Plantation Homeowners Association regarding accelerated beach erosion along the Gulf near Bob Sykes Cut. The Homeowners Association has contacted the Army Corps for assistance, and we're told about the Section 111 program. Through Section 111, the county could request assistance for a study to determine what is causing the accelerated rate of erosion and what beach restoration efforts could be proposed. Below is a pasted excerpt from the Army Corps' website with a brief description of Section 111, and I'll go ahead and read through that just so the public is aware. The overview, Section 111 of the 1968 River and Harbor Act provides authority for the Corps of Engineers to develop and construct projects for prevention or mitigation of damages caused by federal navigation work. This applies to both publicly and privately owned shores located along the coastal shorelines of the United States. Each project is limited to a federal cost share of not more than $10 million. How to request assistance. The Corps can initiate an investigation of a prospective mitigation of damages project upon receipt of a request from a sponsoring agency empowered under state law to provide the required local cooperation. And they did include sample letters for requesting a study. There are limitations of authority. This authority may not be used to construct works for prevention or mitigation of shore damage caused by riverbank erosion or vessel-generated wave wash, nor may it be used to prevent or mitigate shore damage caused by non-federal navigation projects. A recommendation to construct a project to prevent or mitigate shore damage attributable to a federal navigation project may be considered when both of the following conditions exist. The navigation project has been determined to be the cause of the damage and abandonment of the navigational, sorry, my computer just stopped. Navigation project is not the most viable solution. Analysis based on sound engineering and economic principles clearly demonstrates the feasibility of the proposed work. And cost sharing requirements for federal cost sharing are as follows. If the work recommended is confined to mission work, costs are shared in the same manner as the project causing the problem. And if the work recommended is a combination of mitigation and restoration of beaches eroded due to other causes, mitigation work will be shared in the same manner as the project causing the erosion or shoaling, and the remaining work will be 100% local unless it qualifies as a federal beach erosion control project. Below is the body of the draft release request letter from Franklin County, which was attached to this report. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection has classified the 1.7 miles of shoreline east of Sykes Cut as critically eroded. FDEP defines a critically eroded shoreline as a shoreline where natural processes or human activity have caused or contributed to erosion in the recession of the beach or dune system to such a degree that upland development, recreational interest, wildlife habitat, or important cultural resources are threatened or lost. This range of shoreline falls within the St. George Island Plantation Homeowners Association. The association believes the cause of the erosion could be from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers dredging and maintenance activities at Sykes Cut on St. George Island in Franklin County, Florida. The Franklin County Board of County Commissioners requests that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Mobile District undertake an investigation under the authority of Section 111 of the River and Harbor Act of 1968 as amended. Franklin County is willing to serve as the study sponsor. Franklin County understands that the study would be federally financed and 100% federally funded to the limit of $100,000. If the total cost of the study exceeds $100,000, the county understands that the remaining study costs will be shared in the same proportion as the original project, causing damage equally between the Corps and Franklin County, of which Franklin County had no original cash cost share. If studies indicate a viable solution, our mutual objective will be to proceed with construction within 24 months of initiating the design agreement. Franklin County is classified as a fiscally constrained county by the state of Florida and total project costs, including furnishing lands, easements, right-of-ways, relocations, and disposal areas, and would be unable to maintain the project area upon completion. Franklin County is aware that both the Corps and the county's responsibilities would be delineated in a project partnership agreement of which both parties would execute before any construction commencement. Board action to approve sending the attached relief request letter for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to review/study the erosion along the beachfront areas near Bob Sykes Cut.
All right, pleasure
And
to
this letter
be-
has also been reviewed by Attorney Schuler, and just want to mention that.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Amison,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous, 5-0. All right, Ms. Aaron.
Okay, Commissioners, next action item is number 7. At 9:00 a.m. on November 16th, the morning of the Forgotten Coast Freedom Fest at the county airport in Apalachicola, the county will hold a surplus equipment auction. The landfill and parks departments have sent the list of equipment below to be sent to the auction. More items will follow from additional departments at your next meeting, and the auctioneer's flyer is also pasted below. Board action to approve sending the item below to auction and the subsequent removal from county inventory once sold. And that's a list of various old EMC Sierra pickups, old dump trucks, zero-turn mowers, looks like a 1996 International Crew Cab. There's just kind of a variety of older equipment.
Okay, Ms. Aaron, I have a question though, because I think there's
Okay.
something under Michael's report. Isn't one of these
No,
to be removed, or has it already been removed?
is, Aaron, are we, I'm sorry, the dump truck the tractor. Is a tractor on your list?
Oh, let's see. Now, this is Parks and Recreation and Solid Waste. I believe
Okay.
the
Oh,
tractor
okay,
Okay.
okay,
that
thank
you're
you.
removing is actually going to be traded in for the
Okay.
airport.
Okay,
So that's the tractor's gonna be traded in?
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying, Ms. Aaron. So, pleasure of the board.
So moved with question.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ward to approve. It has been seconded by Commissioner Amison. Commissioner Ward, please proceed.
Aaron, real quick, I know that it's doing a little bit different this year, by having it at this Forgotten Coast Freedom Festival. Are these items gonna be available for the public to look at before the 19th so that they can kind of get an idea of what they may wanna, bid on?
Yes, they will. Yep, they will actually, we're gonna start staging the equipment actually in the next few weeks, actually at the airport location. And Scott Kelly, if somebody wants to come see it, they can actually contact, Scott out at the airport, and I'm sure he'll be glad to show them the equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Ms. Aaron, also in what you've given us, it's got a website that can be visited to see the catalog of what's going to be at the auction.
Yeah.
FloridaAuctionNetwork.HIBID.com. So they are going to make it available so people can see it online if they need to.
Yep, that's correct.
Of course, if I was bidding on it, I'd want to see it in person, but anyway.
Yeah. Crank it up, crank the vehicle
Yes.
up.
Any other discussion before we vote? All right, seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Go ahead, Ms. Aaron.
Okay, Commissioners, next action item number 8. In July, the board approved contract extensions through September 30th for vendors for the TDC's Maritime Museum Grant Project. The content and display boards are now complete. However, the display cases still need to be filled, and vendors have had a difficult time scheduling the in-person interviews for the videography. Once the videography is completed, the vendors will be able to finish their work. The grant agreement expires on December 31st, and the attached amendments will extend the vendor agreements to December 1st, which will still allow sufficient time for the videography and other tasks to be completed prior to the grant closeout procedure. The attached amendments will extend the agreements through December 1st for the Apalachicola Bay Chamber of Commerce, the Franklin's Promise Coalition, Coastal East Solutions, and Forgotten Coast TV. Board action to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the attached no-cost time extension contract amendments to the vendor contracts for the Maritime Museum project.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Amison.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Croom. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 5-0 vote, unanimous. Go ahead, Ms. Aaron.
Okay, Commissioners, next item number 9 is strictly for board information. The county's audit report for fiscal year ended September 30th, 2023 is now posted on the county's website. I just wanted to let you all know to please reach out if you have any questions and or if you would like to have the auditors present the report at a later meeting. And next item number 10, miscellaneous project updates. Again, just board information. The SGI Stormwater Improvements Project construction bid solicitation is advertised, and the mandatory pre-bid meeting is set for Friday, October 18th. The Lanark EMS station mandatory pre-bid meeting was held on Friday, October 4th at 9 o'clock. We had approximately 4 interested contractors attend that meeting. The bid response due date was changed by the attached addendum to November 4th to be opened at the next meeting. And that was in part due to, we had to move the mandatory pre-bid meeting date due to Hurricane Helene, and then there was not enough time in between to actually address the questions that actually came up, or the questions that were posed by the bidders at the pre-bid meeting. And then SGI Beach Park Facilities upgrade, the same. The mandatory pre-bid meeting was held on Friday, October 4th at 10:30. The pre-bid meeting for that was also well attended, and the bid response due date was changed by the attached addendum from November 4th with bid opening at your next meeting. And also for the board's record purposes only, the awarded materials quote for the TDC funded repairs of the SGI fishing pier, the name change of the lumber supplier from South Bay Lumber to Builders First. There was no other change in the dollar amount of the quote. It was strictly an ownership change for the actual winning bidder for that. And MYP amendment number 2 for the county's Restore program was accepted by the U.S. Treasury on October 11th, 2024. And the county can now begin working to submit the grant application for the landfill transfer station. And then on another note, Commissioners, I would like to, I would actually like at your next meeting, I do plan on coming back to you with a revision for the county's bid policy. Primarily just because the threshold amounts that we have, $10,000 nowadays does not go as far on your projects. So it is my hope to actually increase that base amount from the $10,000 to $25,000, and then go from $25,000 to $50,000, where the county would can actually do an informal solicitation where we get 3 quotes from different vendors. And then anything above the $50,000, we would actually go to full bid. And primarily that's just because we are having a really hard time keeping the projects moving forward. With that $10,000 limit, and even finding enough vendors to actually secure, 3 quotes from the $10,000 to the $25,000 range. It has just been difficult, in our small community. It's hard to actually find interested bid. So just kind of wanted to mention that I would be coming to the next meeting for the amendment for the county's bid policy.
All right, thank you, Ms. Aaron. Anyone have anything for Ms. Aaron?
Mr. Chairman, I do. Ms. Aaron's, me, you, and Mr. Solomon, if we can catch a break between hurricanes, need to get, we were supposed to get a meeting together. So
Yes, we are. Yep.
it seems like Mother Nature's not agreeing with us, but I just want to remind you because we hadn't talked. So, but anyway, if you
Yes,
don't mind, when you slow down,
Okay.
That's fine.
Sounds good.
let's get together, please.
Yeah. Anyone else? Miss Aaron, I hadn't had a chance to, but I want to make sure you're involved in this. I plan on at least talking to the SGI Water Department and seeing where they would stand on us doing a feasibility study for sewer for St. George Island. Currently, the beaches are closed, and we didn't get the storm close to us. So anyway, maybe the best step is a feasibility study to begin with, to see if it's even possible or what it would take. But I just want to bring that up so when we start to have the discussion, it won't be hid from nobody. It's open. Everybody knows where we're headed.
Yes, Commissioner, and there are actually some grant programs like the USDA. There's a lot of Clean Water Act funding available, so that may be a source for doing something like that.
All right.
That would probably help with some of the water quality
Yes,
concerns.
ma'am. I know it's still premature. We're just starting the discussion. I just wanted to mention it today so everybody would know. Anyone else? All right, Miss Aaron, thank you, and see you with that check.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. You all have a great day.
All right, let's take a 5-minute recess. Franklin County Board of County Commissioners now back in session. We're going now to our Planning and Zoning Adjustment Board report. But before we start, Mr. Morone, you're saying that item number 9 is going back to
Yeah,
the
Commissioner.
PZOA Board?
I made a error with that one. When I was told that it was ready to go, it was approved by Justin and ready to go back to the board, I thought, I wouldn't use the word assume, I thought it was this board, but it's not. It has to go back to P and Z once again. And there's another item that was tabled that's not on your agenda today that also goes back to P and Z before it comes back to the county commission.
Right.
My error. Steve has already talked to the applicant a few minutes ago, and he's aware of it, so we are good to defer that until probably the second meeting of next month,
Okay.
after the P and Z meeting.
And so these are all 5 are dock applications then?
Yes.
Okay.
And
All right.
before Steve jumps in, just to help the cause
Yes.
a bit, if you notice, if you click on the minutes, you're gonna notice it was the same person that made a motion in a second. It's because they took all the docs at one motion.
Yes.
And then they just added any notes for each particular doc as part of that motion. So that's
Right.
how P and Z did it, which was good. The meeting lasted
3 minutes.
What?
a little bit longer than 3 minutes, Commissioner. Actually, I got a text from somebody says, what happened to the link? It says we're waiting. I said, because we're finished.
Oh, wow. I have one question before you proceed. Do all of these properties already have a house?
I don't know offhand.
Mr.
Because
Chairman,
they're
I can
all
answer
asking
that.
for
All
power.
but one,
Okay. Because they're all asking for power, as I understand it.
except for one. And I was gonna have a couple pulled out because of that reason.
Yeah. Which one do you want to pull out and discuss separately then?
There's 2 I'd like to pull out, Mr. Chairman. I want to pull out 1259 Avocet Lane, St. George Islands,
Uh-huh.
and 325 River Road in Carabel.
All right.
Okay.
The rest I'm okay with.
All right. So do y'all want to consider doing the other 3 in one motion then, and then discussing these 2? Is everyone good with that?
I'm good with that.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. So we have 541 West Bay Shore, St. George Island. Consideration to construct a single-family dock with an 8x4 access walkway, 4x20 terminus, and a covered boat lift with 14x26 roof. And we have 2235 Coquina, St. George Island. Request to construct a new 1,612-foot single-family dock consisting of a 4x363 access dock and a 10x16 terminal platform and 2 12x10 open boat slips with lifts. The slips will be located on either side of the access dock, landward of the terminal platform. 331 Wing Street, St. George Island. Consideration for a request to construct an addition to an existing single-family dock. The addition consists of a 72x4 continuation of the existing 142x4 access pier, a 28x4 terminal platform, and a 47x14 covered boat slip with lift, and a 42x12 covered boat slip with lift. And 1259 Avocet Lane, St. George Island. Consideration of a request to construct a 2,128 square foot dock with kayak
We're
Chairman,
going to
sorry.
discuss that
Okay.
separately.
Just the
Sorry.
3.
Okay, the last 2 is,
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was looking at the map. I wasn't even.
I was on a roll.
All right, so for the first 3, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion because they all 3 do have homes currently on the property.
All right, so we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Croom. Any discussion, Commissioners? Just, what is, you stood up, so,
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disruptive, but the sheer size of that Wing Street, that's a canal lot. 47 feet by 14 covered deck and then another 42 by 12 covered deck. Those are houses.
yeah.
Anyway, please can reconsider.
Yeah, well, you got another one that's got a 1,612-foot size dock. I mean,
I know they're getting bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
and these are houses over the water, and for
Yeah.
years they never allowed roofs. Now they all got roofs, and anyway,
okay.
it's a tough job. Thank
Yep.
you.
Mr. Steve, just to follow up a question with that, was there anything during the PZNA meeting about it being in the canal and making sure it wasn't going to obstruct anybody else's, or did it already meet that standard? You know what I'm saying?
There was no discussion of it at the meeting.
Okay.
but it's in a canal.
Well, that's what Mr. Bean was
I was
saying.
able to get it. I didn't get a chance to go through it.
Hey, Justin, that you?
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry.
Commissioners, can you hear me?
Yes.
You got some background noise too, Justin, so.
Okay, sorry about that. So the docks meet all the requirements within the Franklin County Land Development Code and Comp Plan. It does meet the 25% rule for the one that is in the canal. The size requirements, while I would not make an opinion on how large they are, they still meet the requirements within the Franklin County Land Development Code.
All right. All right, thank you, Mr. Steele. All right. Any more discussion? We did have a motion and a second, correct?
I
Yes,
made
for
the
A, B,
motion.
and C.
Yep, yep. All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right, let's go to item D, sir.
Item D is 1259 Avocet Lane, St. George Island. Consideration of a request to construct a 2,128 square foot dock with kayak launch on Apalachicola Bay as per DEP permit. This will be a private single-family pier to be used exclusively for recreational activities and not used for vessel mooring or access. The T-shaped pier will consist of a 4-foot by 492-foot long access walkway with a 8 by 20 terminal platform and 0 temporary or permanent slips.
Mr. Chairman, my
Yes.
concern with this one was, for one, there's no house on the property. I understand they're not asking for any lifts. This is just, according to this, is supposed to be used for like a kayak launch. But what about, it looks like it's going over, I know, I guess, is DEP, I guess they've already approved it? Because it looks like it's going over a lot of wetlands, in my opinion.
It says it has a DEP permit.
Okay.
Yeah, in the packet, it's got
All right.
that permit already in the packet.
In addition to that,
Man, is it okay if I jump in here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So our recommendation for the planning recommendation was the conditional approval, provided the applicant provides necessary state and federal permits prior to the beginning of construction. So section 220.02, accessory structures and use, allows for the construction of a dock without a single family residence on it, provided it does not have power. Now, if it has power, then they'd have to come to the board to request a variance. In this situation, they still need to provide an Army Corps permit before the construction begins.
okay. One more question, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind. Is there something in writing that they know and are aware that they cannot come back and add any lifts or anything like that? They would have to come back before the board. They do realize that, right? Yeah.
I don't know.
Justin, you
So-
I'm sorry.
So if that is something that the board would like, we could write a letter, basically a development order associated with this dock to say you can, as a condition of approval of this dock, you will be limited to the square footage and use as agreed to in this development order without coming back before the board for any kind of modifications.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate Justin, because again, if we approve this, who's to say they don't come back and then throw a lift in there or throw a, something else in there? That's my concern. We've been burnt in the past, so I'm just trying for future prevent us from having to come up with any issues in that term. So I would like that verbiage. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I just want to make sure that they're aware that they cannot put a lift on here and I know, again, I see what it says, but how many times we have what it says and then they do something different? So, but I'm okay with that verbiage. And do we need to, if we do approve this, do we need to do it contingent on the Army Corps permit?
So, state and federal permits, you can approve something without having a state or federal permit. It is on the applicant to provide those prior to any construction beginning. And so that would be, their issue if they do not meet that requirement. And the board could always go back and create a code enforcement issue against them if the state or federal government did not do that themselves.
Okay, thank you.
So, let me ask this, because this has been an ongoing thing, and this development order, that might be, as Commissioner Ward is saying, that might be the solution in the future with all these issues that the board has been having with docks. You know, at one point, the chairman had said, you know, he would love to have a way to prove that it's built, basically an as-built like review before they get it. This might be a way, Commissioner Ward, what Justin is suggesting. Yeah, good,
I like that idea myself.
yeah.
All right. So what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve it contingent on the letter being written as Justin has outlined. Is that what you want, Commissioner Ward? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we have a motion to approve contingent on Mr. Steele writing a letter so we can add to this, basically making a development order that it can be built like it can be built and it can't be added to without coming before the board again.
I'll second.
All right, we have a second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right, please proceed, Mr. Steele.
Yeah, we also have 325 River Road, Carabel. Consideration of a request to construct a 476 square foot single family dock consisting of a 76 by 6 marginal dock, a 5 by 4 access walk, and 2 14 by 10 uncovered boat lifts.
Mr. Chairman, my concern with this one is I wanted to make sure that it was a dock width-wise, not length-wise, because looking at the pictures, it's right on a bend, a river bend, and I didn't want a length of a dock sticking out for a potential boat to hit or it become a navigational hazard. But this is actually a lengthwise dock, and it's consistent, in my opinion, with all the other docks in the area. And there is a home on this property per what I've researched. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve this one as well.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion?
So is this one lengthwise or widthwise? It's width, right?
Yeah, width.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the whole reason why I decided to approve it. If it was lengthwise, I'd have more concerns, but it's widthwise.
Well, you know, not very long ago, we had the same issue because it was on one of them bends in the New River, and it's the same thing. We're gonna have to watch that they can go down down, but not out.
Right.
Because if they go too far out,
It's a navigational hazard
is.
for sure, yeah.
And that's what happened with the canals over there, you know, like down at Alligator Point over there in St. George Island, the canals, you don't want to cut the navigable waterway.
All right. Any additional discussion before we vote? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right, and then the next one is going back to PZ&A, correct?
Okay, I had a couple more items for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know that we have received confirmation that our auto-adopt request for our new flood maps has been accepted. We were able to make this request based on the auto-adopt language that is in our 2021 flood ordinance. The new maps became effective on October 10th.
Okay.
And secondly, Mr. Morone and myself met with our planner, Justin Steele, and requested him to look at changes to our zoning regarding mother-in-law suites or accessory structures with dwelling units, and what limitations can be implemented as far as square footage, location. So he's started working on that. And also we've had him look at, he's looking into our fill ordinance and what we can do with fill. So, and finally, as information has come to light that we have an old ordinance requiring a driveway permit from the road department. Effective immediately, a permit from the road department or a letter from the road department will be required for all new construction permitting Additionally, a final approval letter will be required prior to certificate of occupancy being issued. And that's because on our county roads, we've had so much issues with drainage that,
Yes.
you know, and people are putting in driveways and they're filling in ditches, or, so this will make and we have an ordinance that's been on the books that just has slipped through the cracks. We've met with the road department. They brought it to our attention, and we met with them, and came together with this plan, and so effective immediately, that's another requirement we're having on permits.
Yeah, well, one needs to know what the other one's doing, or it's just, it doesn't function properly. So I want to ask a question, going back to one of the first things you just added on. So we adopted a new flood map, correct?
We did the auto adopt, which
Right.
took the new maps
Right.
in that we can.
So all of that information, we need to make sure it's included when we're having discussions about doing this assessment of our ditches, basically, and our ability to move stormwater. We need to not, I think that's part of what's kindly caught up with us, is it's not really been addressed over time by this board. And as we're moving forward, we need to make sure if there's a map change, we're taking into consideration, so it'll be a continual process.
Right.
But we need to include that.
I don't think anybody ever anticipated the growth that we've had in the last 5 years
Right.
of, that it's just really boomed here, and our,
I'll give you, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
if you
go
allow
ahead.
me. I'll give you a good example. At the last meeting, you'll remember the Kentucky Avenue problem that's out there. In the past, that was X zone. Now, according to the new map, they're in the A zone. So, that's the reason why it's a problem out there.
Yes.
And I was told by the flood map people that it should have been A the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah, with repetitive flooding out there. But that just shows you one of the things that they're looking at, and they know that this area floods, and it should have been caught many years before now, but it hasn't. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to make a comment.
Thank you, Steve, for those updates. We appreciate it. Is Ms. Courtney attended by Zoom?
Mr. Chairman, I've got something real quick
Okay, go ahead.
before we proceed, and Justin may be able to answer this, but I know Mr. Bean brought it up, and I was actually going to ask this anyway, this question, because as I was looking over these critical shoreline applications, and in the past, the question does come to my mind, because sometimes I'll look at the pictures of the aerial photos, and you do see a dock that's longer than the other or shorter than the other. So is there a requirement as a limit like we have on our roof line, how much dock is allowed out in the water? Is that a DEP thing or a Army Corps thing, or?
So that's it's a county policy right now that limits it to 25% of the navigable water body when you're looking at a canal. So the dock could only extend out 25% into the canal before it became an issue.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And with other
I would also bring up that, all of these docks fall outside of the coastal control line. And so the question is, does the board want to continue to see these docks, or do you want to allow them to go before planning review, as it says in your land development code?
Just to let me touch on that a little bit. So,
Okay.
Justin kind of informed Steve and myself that really and truly based on is it in the land development code? Is that where it is? That rule? That
Yes, sir.
That the docks actually are to be staff reviewed, but it's just been a practice we've always brought
always
them
done it.
to the board.
Yeah.
So, I guess what he's asking, and Justin, if I'm wrong, correct me, do you want to continue the practice of bringing it to the board, and he offers an amendment to what's written there? So what's written coincides with what we're doing, our practice, because we've been having some issues with that over the last year or so. How does the board want to move forward with that?
Well, I've got certain feelings about it, because as you see, when you brought up the issues with some of the docks today, Commissioner Ward had some questions
Yes.
and concerns, and she knows the area just as I do. Sometimes they come before us to be reviewed, and the reason why they're coming is because we have maybe some kind of institutional knowledge of the area that causes it to be one way or the other. Something that you all are not going out there and actually eyeballing it. I mean, I don't think you are, but Steve may be. But anyway, and I think the commissioners add to it, you know, and I like to be able to add to it.
Yes.
Because it's like, we caught that dock not too long ago, and I said, are you sure that thing's not running out? Because if it's running out, it's gonna cut the waterway out. And, I mean, my personal thing, I like it to come to the board myself.
Yeah, well, we could do it a couple of ways, and
I mean, that's for y'all to decide how to
yes,
do it.
well, no, it'd be the commission's, the policy, your policy, you guys decide. We just want to make sure
I hope
what's
y'all
written
remember that.
and what comes to the board, always. But there's still a couple of ways to handle that. One is because Steve does have his staff and Justin, when he's here, they go and they look at every single thing that comes up in P&Z. They go and eyeball it, to use that term, which is a very good practice. I'm glad you said that. But if there's a dock in a particular district, the staff could get with that commissioner and say, hey, here's all what's in front of you, tell us what your concerns are, you know, and we can handle it that way. Either which way, we'll do what the board wants. Again, we're back to the practice of bringing it to the board. I don't think staff, Justin, nor Steve, I don't think we have any problems. Actually, we like it. We like the cover that in case we miss something, you guys know. And you guys say, well, we have a different question. We just want to know that so we can instruct Justin to rewrite that part of the code so it does. Because Commissioner, 5 years from now, you want to make sure the code is doing what the board desires, basically. And
Well, we need to do one or the other. So we've made several decisions here in the last year and a half that was based on what was written.
yes,
And
not
we have
practice.
what's written, so we either need to follow that or we need to change it.
change that.
It
Yes.
doesn't need to exist in the way it is. I'm good with either way. I do understand what he's saying, though. If it's written that it should be staff review,
Yeah.
there's probably a reason it's written that way. Because it is a dock.
But-
But anyway, go ahead, Mr. Steve.
I would like to add that the commissioners know their districts more.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all spend more time in your district than any of us do. You know, we live where we live and we don't necessarily know all the districts and everything there. So y'all are really the experts on your district and what's needed and what's wanted. And so, I mean, the commission going before the board, to me, makes sense. I mean, I'm not.
So do I.
Yeah, well, and I think we made big strides with this in the last couple of years. When we've delineated in no uncertain terms, we don't want any dock built that's asking for power unless they got a house,
Yep.
to alleviate other issues we were trying to deal with. And I think that's been, I think it's been handled
Yeah.
for the most part. You know, we've had a couple people that have seemed to have gotten by with other means, but, for the most part, that's been handled. So I don't have an issue either way.
I like the idea of us covering, putting a cover there for you all, because if something comes down, it just won't be the staff, be the board.
It'll be
too.
everybody.
It'd be everybody,
Yeah.
because we're all accountable.
Yeah.
We are all accountable.
So-
But my thing is, you look at South Florida right now and everything, and I'm gonna be real with you. You can see the posts sticking up, the pilings sticking up for the docks, but you don't see the dock, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. It's just like that one that I'm still concerned at down there in the eastern part of the county. If that dock goes as many feet, that was one of our problem places, it has not been solved yet. If that dock goes out there 300 and something feet like they want, you won't even be able to put a boat between that and that little island out there. So, I mean, that's what you look at, that's what you see. So I'm good either way, but I want to ensure that we got an extra pair of eyes is always good.
Always.
You know what I mean?
Always. So what I'll do, I'll ask Justin to write something up, which will be a proposed, like a draft amendment to the language that's there, and you guys look at it and decide which way we want to go.
So until we get it amended, are we gonna do it like it's written? Where you
Well,
can
I
talk
was-
to the commissioner of the district and
I was-
that's the way it's written.
I know, I was gonna.
So-
Go ahead, sir.
So that is a minimum, as the planning consultant, as the person serving in the role as your planner, we can always say this is more intense than what we think it's going to be, and that's the general practice that it has been, and bring it to the planning commission and the board.
Okay.
That's good, Jeff.
Okay. Thanks, Justin.
All right. Anything else? Anything else, Mr. Steve? Anyone have anything else
He's
for
like he's ready
Mr.
to
Steve?
go, right?
I see that. Anyone else got anything for
No, he got-
Mr. Steve?
He got inspection, so.
Thank you, Steve. We appreciate it. All right. Ms. Bankston?
Later. Hey, Courtney? Hopefully she's not on the phone. Hope she didn't allow herself to answer the call. Commissioner, you want me to go ahead?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there she
She's
goes.
there. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. I just got off the phone. All I did was hear my name.
Well, we're to you, so please proceed.
All right, so I am bringing up the discussion of the ordinance for code enforcement. The draft that was presented to you, these are the procedures and policies after my steps. So
So that you, if you don't mind, Courtney, so the policy and procedures which Commissioner Ward had asked for, and we were working on it, the policy that you see in front of you is what will happen once Courtney receives the complaint. She puts it in the system. She does her initial check. If it is a zoning violation, she would then send him a letter of some sort. If it's a health department thing, she sends it to them. If it's a billing department, it goes to the billing department, code, that type of code. And then she'll send him a letter. We're thinking with the mail, either which way, 30 days is what you're gonna give in the letter, and then you add an extra week for mail, getting back and
Correct.
forth. And then if there's no action after that time, that 30 days, then what she does, she turns it over to the sheriff department for enforcement. Attorney Schuler said that the sheriff's department will then have to do their own investigation of it, because they will have to go in front of the magistrate and testify to their investigation. But theirs would be way more aggressive than ours. Coming from Courtney as a letter, the sheriff will actually be visiting, the deputy will be visiting the site, letting them know that, there's an investigation and a possible citation, and we proceed from there. Jump in anytime you want, Attorney Schuler.
Lifeline.
Yeah.
Essentially, what Mike has presented is following the board's directions that you have made the policy decision that initially you want informal communication between the county and the property owner to achieve compliance with the code if in fact staff finds there is a violation. And so that's when Courtney says my part, that is the informal enforcement that the board has said it wants. The policies and procedures before you today is if voluntary enforcement fails, then code enforcement would commence, and then code enforcement would follow the policies and procedures that are before you today.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
With your discussion with the sheriff, was there one specific deputy that's handling this, or is it all of his deputies, or what? Do y'all know?
The sheriff said his preference was not to appoint one or two assigned deputies to code enforcement. He wanted the ability for all of the deputies to be involved in code enforcement, and that he as the sheriff would receive the necessary code enforcement training within the time period Courtney laid out, which I think is 1 year, that
Right.
we have for a code enforcement officer to become certified. And then the sheriff would then kind of like, I believe I'm correct when I say his viewpoint is like the sheriff with his deputies, it would be similar with code enforcement. He is the sheriff, is the empowered code enforcement officer, and then he would delegate out to his assigned deputies. I believe that to be the sheriff's preference.
All right, which was
My
the next
recommendation
question
frankly was to use one or two.
All of them
but
have to get trained, correct?
I believe the sheriff is the only one that's going to go through the code enforcement training, but I don't know that. I mean, he may bring one or two on. I mean, that I'm going to defer to the sheriff on that.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Any additional questions? So this is just a draft. I know there'll be other discussions we'll have about it, but I want to clarify what we're talking about here. So we're talking about letter being sent upon a report of a violation or a known violation. A 30-day time frame. On day 31, we're contacting the sheriff's office to let them know to go start their investigation.
Yes.
Because we've not had any response or any, we'll fix it or that kind of deal, is what we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
And that's laid out in this, that's been submitted to us.
Yes.
Okay. I think it is, but I just wanted to have that be stated publicly.
And Mr. Chairman, or did you say something, Attorney Schuler? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know the board is well aware of this, but I just want to repeat for the benefit of the public that the code enforcement is a complaint-driven process. Anonymous complaints are not allowed.
Right.
If you want to file a complaint, you have to go to the complaints portal as a citizen and file a written report and sign your name to it. That is a requirement the legislature put in place a couple of years ago. They can't go to their county commissioner. Right. They can't go to the code enforcement officer and say, hey, take care of this for me. Doesn't work that way anymore. It is a complaints-driven process. You have to put your name out there on the complaint. The only other individual that can initiate a code enforcement action would be the code enforcement officer themselves. But even they can't act to an anonymous complaint. So, just so the public knows.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question, Courtney. This process is going to give you guys as staff what you need to do the job to come to a finality when you get a valid code enforcement complaint.
Correct.
Okay, because that was my
That's what we've been
biggest
needing.
frustration is there's no continuity. We got to a spot and that was that, and it just nothing ever got done. And moving forward, we have to make sure we have that continuity. So I just want to make sure
This
that
will give us a leg to stand on.
yes, okay, that's all I wanted to make sure of.
Yeah. I also want to ask a question to clarify. So we're also not talking about sending out additional letters, correct? I know we'd had that discussion, but I think we've already been doing that for decades.
Yeah.
And
They're just
I'm
gonna
not
throw it
interested in
garbage.
propping up the postal service.
Yeah, you got one letter from the county, on the county letterhead.
Yeah.
If you don't do anything, know that the sheriff will be visiting you. Well, the sheriff and his deputies will be paying you a visit.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
And that'll be a way more aggressive, investigation than what the county does. Let's see that.
Okay. All right. So this would be coming up at a later time anyway to actually vote on and have a public hearing for and all that kind of stuff, correct?
But this is a policy.
This is just a
This is
draft, though.
This is a policy and a procedure.
Okay.
You already have a code enforcement ordinance that the board adopted 2022, I think.
Right.
And you've already hired a special magistrate. The Commissioner Ward and the rest of the board members said that they wanted policies and procedures in place before we commenced the code enforcement process. So that is why this is presented to you in a policy format as opposed to an ordinance. If y'all want to conduct a public hearing just to make sure there's plenty of public notice, that's great. But I don't think you need to have a public hearing to adopt your own internal policies and procedures.
Right. But this, I'm asking, well, I guess I was trying to ask, is this something we're voting on today or this was just informational?
I would prefer you guys look it over, take time to look it
Okay.
over, and then I'll bring it up either the next meeting or the following one, when you think you're ready to adopt it, in
Okay.
case you have any changes
And we'll go ahead
questions.
and publicly notice it as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't trying to misspeak. I wasn't trying to get us into anything we don't have to do. I
mean-
just wanted to make sure what we were doing.
Mr. Chairman, it's pretty cut and dry. I mean.
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I do have another question though, Courtney. So this is for moving forward, each complaint that comes in, this is the process. Now, what happens, because I know we've got all these other complaints on the books that have been there. I've gone back and looked. And that was my frustration too, is like going back, some of these complaints have been a year or 2 years. And that's not against you guys, I'm not saying that, but it's like 2 years for a code enforcement complaint. And then they wonder why we as commissioners get calls from our constituents angry and upset saying, what's going on with this? This complaint was filed 2 years ago and nothing's happened. So the ones that are on the books now, how is that going to, are we going to start from scratch even though they've had 2-3 years?
Nope. So what I plan on doing is getting a list together of the complaints that we've had on the books for a while for each district. And then those will be brought to you guys as commissioners to say, what do you want to do with them? We can go ahead and move them towards magistrate. We can get the sheriff department out on them. It will be up to you guys' decision. So I didn't want to make that decision on my own. So it would be up to y'all's discretion to, you know, how you want to handle those.
Okay, thank you.
Well, whenever we pass this policy change, I would say if they've already gotten a first letter or whatever, you go ahead and send the sheriff out and start that side of it. You know, especially if it's something
Works
that's a
with me.
year old.
Yeah. That works for me.
Okay.
Whatever you guys want to decide, I'm okay with
I
that.
agree with the chairman on that one. I mean, they've already gotten plenty of time. We gotta hold everybody accountable.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Courtney.
I think is that all I have, Michael?
No, you had the SHIP, the strategy for demolition reconstruction strategy, that you have quite a few blanks that you wanted the board to look at and maybe talk with you the next couple of weeks about
Yes.
how to fill in some of the blanks on the strategy, what they like, what they don't like, you know, et cetera.
So that was more information.
Yes,
Okay.
the strategy is more
Yeah.
information
Okay.
right now. I mean, I'll let Courtney speak because she's been working with Florida Housing and getting this
Yes.
strategy. But this is the one, and just, Courtney, just cut me off when you need to. This is one that we found out when Courtney and I went to a training with Florida Housing up in Tallahassee, that there are certain counties that SHIP does allow the purchase of mobile homes for. But you have to do this strategy that she has in front of you, and they have to approve the strategy before you can do it. Now, in all reality, commissioners, we get $350,000 a year. We get the minimum from the state for the SHIP program. I would tell you, guys, the price is CDBG, you know, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in that area, mobile home is running slightly over $100,000 or close to it.
Yeah.
And then you have set up sometimes of the lot, sometimes, you know, septic or sewer connections. So easily you can get anywhere between $100,000 and $150,000 for one. So with $350 coming to your SHIP program, commissioners, I would tell you we can do one a year.
Yeah.
That's what I would recommend. Up to the board. Anything more than that, you're killing all your other strategies, the down payment assistance, the rehab, you know, the emergency rehab, which, you know, so again, you know, she has it there for you to look at. I encourage you to call Courtney and have a discussion with her about it, you know, so she can get your feelings, and then she can come back with a better draft with more of the blanks filled in based on your input, your feedback, and then we start to move forward with that strategy, because we want to get it in and approved as soon as possible, because we have 2.5 years worth of funds to spend. We'll have that discussion another time why we have that, but that would allow us maybe to buy 2, maybe 3, depends on how we work the funds out. And so this year, but after that, it'll probably be 1 a year, commissioners. Courtney and I, we just got an email yesterday. SHIP is having one of their full, haven't seen one of these in a while, one of their full day conference trainings. Haven't been to one of those in a while. It's down in Tampa in mid-November sometime, the 13th to 14th, can't remember. Courtney and I are already registered to go down there because we need that class desperately. I would like to have the strategy, a nice draft that we could take with us to this conference, and we could kind of circulate it and have people that know better kind of tell us, okay, yeah, this will work, this won't work, that type of deal.
Yeah.
So, all right, Courtney, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't steal your thunder, but yeah.
No, you're okay. So with what I've discussed with other counties and also with Aaron and the building department, 150, the maximum award being 150,000 would be that max that we can use in that section 4. Item 1 for maximum award, 150,000. That would cover the cost of the mobile home, the installation, if there needs to be any type of permitting, septic, anything like that. It will take care of all of that, and that's the worst case scenario, because that's what I was going for. So the 150 would go on that, so that will be one thing that I can stick in there. As far as terms, we will have to decide how we want that rehabs, it's a deferred loan or repayment loan, basically is how it's handled, so that over a course of however many years, so it's zero interest. I think the most one that we done is 10 years, Michael?
Yeah,
Yes.
I would like the board to stick to the CDBG policy you approved as close to that one as possible. That'll work best for everybody, I think, commissioners.
Yeah, that is 10 years, isn't it?
I believe it is, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, so that'll basically go just like it would for the CDBG. So as long as the loan is in good standing, they will not have to repay that back. I know one thing that was brought up that we discussed, if anything happens to the person that is on the file, if they were to pass away, then it would go to the next point of kin. And as long as they didn't do anything with the house or anything like that, if they didn't sell it, then it would still stay in good standing.
Right. Okay.
So the little blanks that you see are the only things we kind of just have to get a handle on before we present it to the Florida Housing to make sure that they're okay with that. So.
Okay, sounds good. The only thing, I'm honest, that I don't like about what it is right now, and I know there's a lot of blanks, as I understand it, this is us switching or adding something so it can address mobile homes specifically, but every
Correct.
reference in the document is home. There's no reference to mobile home.
And I actually talked to Michael Chaney about that. He said it says household, and I asked him about the verbiage. He said that's just the standard verbiage that they use for Florida Housing.
Yeah.
It does not mean that it does not leave out mobile homes.
Right.
It's just the standard wording that verbiage that they use. This was actually taken from verbiage that for other counties that have used,
Right.
and I just kind of
As long as it's gonna
Take it
address
off.
them, that's the only reason I brought it up.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because right now with CHIP, we don't rehab mobile homes.
Right.
So this will help a lot of those that have mobile homes to be able to replace the old mobile
Yeah.
homes.
Michael,
Sir?
with the SHIP allocation that we currently get
Yes, sir.
historically, has it ever increased or decreased?
No.
It's been 350?
Always 350, except for Hurricane Michael.
Yes. We got some
Yeah.
hurricane money.
We got, now, God, I would trust my memory. We got money, extra money, but they had it under another program they call HHRP.
Yes.
That sounds familiar? So we did get additional funds, Commissioner, but under a different name. They didn't actually increase our SHIP allocation. I will tell you, there's been a couple of years where the legislator kind of swiped that act, and we got nothing. Yeah. But let me just say the feedback, I'll use that term, that they got for doing that wasn't too pleasant, so the next year we were able to, they sent the money back. But yes, in storms, and Commissioner, that was the only time we could, and I think that's why they did that. That was the only time, besides talking about it now, we were able to use SHIP money to purchase mobile homes.
Yes.
If you remember, Commissioner, out there, because I live close by, the graveyard, there was a time you kept seeing new mobile homes parked right there.
Right.
A lot of that was HHRP program funds, which came from Florida Housing, which was truly SHIP money with another name, to be very honest with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I do want to say that this will kind of be in conjunction with the CDBG, because CDBG, they are able to get out at least 3 or 4 mobile homes. So we're just adding, you only add 1, but at least you're adding that 5th one for that person who probably couldn't get one the years before. They're able to get one this time. So,
It's a start, Commissioners. It's a start.
yeah.
All right. I do agree with limiting it to 1 though,
Yeah.
because you could spend it all just
Oh,
on
yeah.
mobile homes.
Absolutely.
And that's nothing against people living in mobile homes. I lived in one for years,
Yeah.
but you can do that.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone have anything else for Ms. Bankston? Ms. Courtney, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Yep, yep. Mr. Morone?
Yes, sir. Commissioner, so we are now on page 20 of the report. At the August monthly meeting, ARPC adopted Resolution 24-03, attached, supporting the state of Florida joining the Southern Rail Line and bringing back passenger rail in North Florida. A Gulf Coast passenger rail line would enhance the local transportation infrastructure and increase commute options and connectivity, not only to this region, but to other existing and planned rail networks within the state. ARPC is asking the board to authorize a letter of support, encouraging the state of Florida, going to the governor, to join the Southern Rail Line and support the Gulf Coast Passenger Rail Line. Chairman Jones, the chairman of the ARPC board, has some comments to add to that before you take action.
Yeah, so it's actually the Southern Rail Commission.
Oh.
And I think Florida is the only state in the South that's not part of the Rail Commission for the South. So what they're particularly going for is, number one, if we can get Florida to agree to try to be a part of that, then there's a substantial amount of money that's available federally that would address adding consumer rail here in North Florida to go specifically from Jacksonville across to New Orleans. So it would add another mode of transportation, if you will, throughout our region. I'm sure it'd be pretty close to I-10, but it would add to the whole region and the whole state, as well as connect us to other states. Because there's already stuff going all the way up to Jacksonville from South Florida. There's already rail that goes from Jacksonville north. There's just nothing coming back to the west. So that's the longer ask, is to try to pursue that. But the first step is Florida has to be willing to join the Southern Rail Commission. So,
and Commissioner Emerson was asking about that this morning,
Yeah.
which way the line would run. I
Yeah.
told him, you said from
West.
around, I said around here, but Jacksonville
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Louis-
It would.
New Orleans.
I'll make a motion to approve the letter of support.
all right, so we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Croom. Any additional discussion, Commissioners? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
All right, Commissioners, 2 hours really short because we've been talking about these street lights forever. Finally, I got all the proposals that you guys had asked for. And so I attached them to my report, so
Yep.
I just need approval of that. And then I think next meeting, Commissioner Croom will have one in front of you also.
So moved with comments.
We have a motion to approve,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ward, with the motion being made by Commissioner Croom. Commissioner?
Michael, correct me if I'm wrong on this.
Mhm.
I thought we had a discussion about having a line item for this, so we'll have to come forward each time. Was that correct or not?
Well, I know we're gonna put a line item. I didn't know if you guys just wanted me as staff, to go ahead and approve them or not once they were submitted.
Because I think the issue was it was taking so long,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
to get it done.
yeah. What I will do, sir, is talk to Aaron about the line item, see where it is in the budget, and you guys could tell me, because if you.
And Mr. Chairman, not to interrupt, that's why I kept sending y'all the emails, because
Yeah.
Michael got back with me, and I'm like, I thought we already decided.
Yeah.
And I knew we approved stuff at meetings, but I thought, as Commissioner Crum was saying, that I was kind of like, why is this
Yeah,
still an
well-
issue? We should already had it done, but
Well,
anyway.
yeah, so if you want to, we could do it I could start approaching it that way, where once you guys authorize me to send it to Michael Ward, I consider it approved, and staff, we just sign off on the
Yeah.
that's fine. I'm good with that.
Okay.
If the board is good with that, I'm
Because
good.
we're not talking about a whole lot of money. Like mine, for example, the pole's already there. All they have to do is hook the LED light up to it. It's not,
Yeah.
it's just gonna cost for the monthly fee for the light.
Yeah,
That's it. It's not like a exorbitant amount of money.
yeah, the only time it gets bad is when they have to run a line and bring a transformer. In that case, I will reach out to that county, the district commission, and say, hey, you want me to bring this to the board, or you're good with me signing off? I could treat it that way. Yeah, Commissioner Croom, that works.
Yeah, I think it'd be a better way to do it going forward.
Yeah.
Okay, that works.
Any other discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Next 3 or 4 are probably airport items. AFCON submitted the FAA pre-application for the Taxiway Alpha Rehab Design-Only Project. Usually, typically, FAA provides funding for the design of a project, like the obstruction removal project. Then they provide funding for the construction. About a year later, the signed pre-application is due Friday, October 18th, and the formal grant application will be due in May of 2025. I just need action to authorize the chairman to sign the pre-application for the design funds.
So move.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward with a second by Commissioner Sanders. Commissioners, do you have any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous, 4-0.
Commissioners, item 4, earlier this year, the board approved an AFCON Task Order 13. That allowed the county to pay AFCON up to $5,000 for any as-needed tasks that were not FDOT, FAA grant related, because there are admin funds built into those grants that they get paid from. Since then, there has been increased airport interest, activity, and non-FDOT, FAA applications submitted that resulted in the counties engaging AFCON to complete tasks for these projects: design, drawings, information on extended runways. The list goes on. Some of it where they helped Aaron and Tracy completed a grant submittal. It's just been a lot we've asked them to do. The cost of these tasks are above the $5,000 cap at the moment. So Aaron and I, and the reason I included Aaron because she uses them a lot for some of these grants that we're trying to submit to get funding at the airport, recommended the board amend Task Order 13 and increase the cap to $10,000. I'll update the board if we ever get close to that cap. Board action to authorize the amendment to Task Order 13 to go from $5,000 to $10,000. And Commissioner, I'll be honest with y'all, this is the price we pay for economic development.
It is?
It basically is that. We're trying to develop the airport. We've got 2 companies that we've met over and over again as very interested in the airport that will create jobs because of the NDA. I'm not allowed to talk about it too much, but yes, we have a lot going on out there.
Mr. Chairman, I will approve, make a motion to approve with question.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Sanders. Commissioner Ward, go ahead.
So actually, I have 2 questions. One question is, this money is coming out of the airport budget fund?
Yes, it is. I should have said that. It
Okay.
is.
Second, and I don't know if Erin's still on the line, she's probably in the
No,
meeting,
she's at
but,
the meeting, yes.
but my next question is, I know she was talking about coming before the board, at the next meeting, I guess, to increase the bid amounts.
Mhm.
Can we add this to that as well?
If, to go over the 10 for right now?
Well, just in general, because you said, obviously, 5,000, they're doing so much to 10. Things aren't as cheap as they used to be. So let's just get all the, in my opinion, all the stuff, caps,
Okay.
addressed so that we're not having to come before the board each time to
Okay.
get approval.
I get what you're saying. To tell her, so we'll do the 10 today, but actually to
Yes.
include
Yes.
in the I got it.
Yes.
Yes. I'll make
Does
a
that make
note.
sense?
We can do that, but keep in mind that what we're talking about with our bid policy is usually for one item. This is a cumulative running total for a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we still probably need to address it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, because Commissioner Ward is right, because actually, so they're up to 6,000 now, and they have another project in the queue that they need to do. So Commissioner Ward, you're correct. Unfortunately, I don't want to be here again, in a few months saying, hey, guys, now I need to go up to the 10. So I will have Erin include that when she brings that to you. Okay? Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can?
My question is this, we've allowed it up to 5,000, and it says for any as-needed tasks that were not DOT or FAA. Who was the one, who were the people, was it you or Aaron, that approved these tasks to be tasked?
Yes, both of us.
Okay,
We both
if
do,
you
yes.
understand what I'm saying, it kind of sounds funny.
Yeah, excuse me.
Okay,
Yes.
so it's different
Bless you.
things at the airport that need to be done?
Yes,
Okay,
especially with grant applications and
Right.
some of the other
Yeah.
items that we have going on. Yes, Commissioner.
okay.
Well, y'all asked both of my questions, but anyway, yeah, I just wanted to be clear that the direction was coming from you or Miss Erin.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
what I was concerned
Yeah.
about.
okay. All right, any additional discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous.
All right, Commissioner, so this whole item kind of changed, the one that's in front of you right now, because.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I got a call from Mr. Kirschenbaum this morning that he made an error. Let me find the correct bid. So, first things first, let me take it piece by piece here. I said that we were not, I'm gonna kind of go outside my narrative here. In my narrative, the piece of equipment we have now is 16 years old. It's the John Deere 5625. It needs $10,000 worth of repair right now, today, as we speak. So it's not working right now. And that is the main tractor that's used to do work on the airport. So I included a state pricing quote for you. On that quote, if I find page 1, you know, I said that, which is going in his direction, that you were going to purchase the utility tractor, the grapple, and at some point in the future, the loader. Well, actually, the reason the quote came this way, because Scott needs both the two attachments, the loader and the grapple.
Okay.
He needs them both right now. So, basically, Commissioners, as you see, the quote is what I need approved. That would be the, basically 88,503.94 for all three pieces. Now, the other change to this I would like in the motion is there is an option that we need to pay attention closer with, I'll get Aaron and Attorney Schuler in this. There is an option to lease, pretty similar to Commissioners, how we do Howard's trucks and so forth. So if the board is willing to approve this today, I would like to approve, and you authorize staff to either to look at the lease and determine whether the lease is a better option for the county or just buying it in cash. I'd like you to give staff that option today if you approve the purchase of this piece of equipment.
So what's the total amount?
It will be on the second page of your, I think basically 88,503.94.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Because we still get a trade in. I'm sorry.
So, the tractor that he's wanting to trade in is a John Deere 5625.
The one in the airport.
So, there's one on our auction list, a 4310 from Parks and Rec.
Yes.
Is that also going in for the trade?
No, that's going to be auctioned straight up. That is not part of the trade.
Can we make it part of the trade to make less money?
Trade
I mean,
two
I'm just,
pieces of equipment.
right.
That's $100,000.
The problem you're gonna have is they're not gonna trade two pieces for one.
Yeah.
It'd be like trading your car. You know, if you had two
Well,
cars
yeah.
to trade in to get one.
I'm just
they're
trying
not gonna
to,
do it.
you know, get better bang for our buck, you know,
Commissioner, I'm
trying
with
to
you.
trying to
Nothing-
think outside the box.
Nothing beats a failure but a trial, to be honest
Not
with you,
hurt.
so we can ask. But do realize that there are other, there's other equipment from the airport that's going to be part of the auction. I don't think Aaron listed those, because you guys approved that meetings ago. That will help offset some of this cost also, you know, so we should get some money back.
Do we have the workup for the lease amount or proposal?
Not yet. I'm working on getting that for you guys. So
And two, Mr. Chairman, I guess with everything you purchase comes with a warranty, but with the lease, I don't know.
the lease has the whole, and Commissioners, I will forward you the work write-up for the lease once we get it, because I'd asked Mr. Kirschenbaum about the lease yesterday, you know, that option, and
And are we leasing the tractor, or are we leasing the tractor grapple and the bucket? Or the
you
loader?
probably buy
whatever?
the attachments and lease the tractor. But I will double check that. I don't want to stand here and say something that might, you know,
Yeah, because
not be the case.
the,
But, no, this is the only piece of equipment that, this is what's used to manage the airport. Now, this is where, if you know, we had the discussion in the past, Commissioner Amison had said he wanted to auction everything else, buy one tractor and a bunch of attachments rather than having 3 and 4 tractors, you know, to different pieces of equipment to do the job. So this is
Well,
us
that's-
heading in that direction.
yeah, and that's all fine and dandy, but I believe you could get a better price than this right here.
Well, that is state,
Is that
State
state
pricing.
bid?
that is state pricing, where it says Sourcewell is state pricing.
And
Well, there's
and
one-
Ag Pro is too. It's coming, that's who's coming from Ag Pro.
Yeah.
Well, my thing is, you got right here, on your item, you got, if you buy everything, it's $98,271, right?
Yes,
Okay, but right here it says, okay.
because
I see what you're saying,
yeah,
because they gave you 20,000 for
yes.
the old.
And yesterday, Mr. Kirschenbaum told me that we did not need that Scott did not need the loader. That's why it's 98 and not at the 108. But we do need the loader, I found out this morning first thing.
So what are we looking at? Are we looking at 88,000, or are we
Yes.
looking at 78,000?
88.
Okay, I just want to make sure we got the right number
That's what I'm
for public
saying.
record, but also,
88,503.94.
okay, and that's the tractor, the grapple, and the bucket or
The
loader.
loader.
Look, correct, Commissioner.
88,503.
Yes, if you look at the last page of your of the proposal, Commissioner, that's,
I got it
that's the
right.
number we're, the full,
I got it right.
because we need all three items, not just two of the three. And I hate the confusion with this, but I really do apologize for that, but that's, when I get a call this morning, that's what happens. I gotta fix it right before the meeting.
So are y'all gonna look at the possibility of using, the same folks that Howard uses? To get some equipment there, maybe at a cheaper price? Because I believe we've been doing long-standing business with them. I believe they beat this price, right?
I will find out if.
You will,
if-
you need to find
yes,
out,
I
'cause that's a
will.
lot of money.
Yes, I will.
Does he need all that,
Yes, he does.
stuff for the tractor? Now, I'm not talking about the attachments. I'm talking about, because this is quite a fancy model right here.
Yeah.
You got something that's more basic, that does a job that's not as fancy and doesn't cost as much?
I will check on that too
Well,
if you'd like,
the
Commissioner.
the reason why I'm saying is, and the way you can do that is look at the hours on the tractor. How many hours on the tractor does that tractor have? Because if it's got no hours at all, and it's just sitting there rusting, Mr. Ted knows more about it than what I do, but, you'd be better off to lease something.
Yes, I'm going to encourage
Instead
the
of
lease
buy.
as much as possible. At
Yeah.
least then with the lease, after so many years, you turn it back in and you get a newer one and you can continue.
I may not know a lot of things, but I know a lot about tractors.
Go, ma'am.
Well, now, if you do a lease though, you can, that $20,000, you might as well put it in auction, because you're not getting money for that.
That's what I have to ask, if
Yeah.
they'll do a trade. Well,
And the other thing that I want to bring up about that is, so there's other tractors on our list. So see if you can get a quote for some of the other tractors that if they come in higher than 20. Because all you need is one for one if it winds up going that way. It
if
don't
it
have
goes
to
to
be.
auction, you mean?
Yeah, it don't have to be the same tractor.
Yeah.
We got this other tractor. If it, say there's one that's 25, if we do want to actually buy, then maybe we want to trade that one in and not the one we're talking about. I'm not trying to complicate it, but I'm saying at least
I
ask
see
the
what you're
question.
saying. So if we have a higher trade value
Yeah.
for one of the tractors on the list right now from one of the other
Yes.
departments, that, let's use that instead and see if they'll take
If
it.
that's what we're gonna do, yeah.
Yeah, if they'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay. I kinda like Commissioner Ward's idea, got 2-for-1 deal, but
Yeah, they won't
like you
do
said,
that.
no dealer takes 2 cars for one, so. yeah.
It never hurts to ask. I'm just laughing at what they have on here considered standard equipment and charging $1,000. It's like that should come with it. And I know it comes with it, but it's like they just gonna tack on. It's like dealer fees when you go to a car dealership. $800. Well, what's that for? Well, to get it here, it's
So,
this and that. And
What it sounds like Commissioner
Whatever.
Sanders is asking to see if there's a model we can use that isn't as, I'll use her term, as fancy and doesn't have as much.
Well, the 56, I think it was a 5620, is that what it was, 5620? Okay, oh, it's 25, that's got a 99 horsepower engine. That's a pretty big horsepower, 99 horsepower. So I was saying,
I will say, Mr.
I don't know
Chairman.
what I don't know what they're gonna do with it, though.
In that case, if they're cutting the entire length of the airport and the runways and the side, the whole entire airport, which is multiple acreage, and the terrain that's, I know they've done a lot of, and I guess we've got increased land now that we're having to take care of because of the.
Because we cleared more,
the clear-
obstruction
cleared the
removal.
obstruction removal, so we're having to do a lot more.
Yes.
So I can understand why they would need the equipment to do that appropriately, but, I don't know. I mean, we need it, that's a given. I'm just wondering if the lease option's better, but as the chairman was saying, if we lease it, then that 20,000's out the window.
Let me,
So-
yeah, I'll double check that and get back.
What-
to you.
Compare the two,
I-
which
I-
one?
What do you need from us today? Do you
Today,
want us?
I need I'd like approval to, purchase this, but you could put contingent, 2 things, to purchase a tractor. Now, if you guys want me to go back and tell, the interim airport manager and Scott, the maintenance guy, to negotiate for either a model that costs less, God bless you, that costs less, I could, you could include that in the motion. I will be trying to compare, Aaron and I and Attorney Schuler will compare the lease to outright purchase and tell you guys, I'll call back and say, okay, we've determined that this is the best route to
That's
go.
what you need to do.
And that's how, so that's the kind of motion I'm looking for. I mean, are you guys satisfied with going forward with this particular model? Or would you like us to see if there's another model that will last as long and has as much power? Keeping in mind, like I said in my narrative, this is the only piece of equipment that will be maintaining the entire airport.
So Michael, why don't we do this? Why don't we consider a motion to approve up to $89,000
Okay?
for the purchase of a new tractor if you staff deems it's a better deal than trying to do a lease?
Ladies, okay.
And we can discuss that and come out with,
That's
that way it
perfect. That
covers
gives us all the
that
leeway we
amount.
need.
If
Yes.
you can get it for cheaper, you can get it for cheaper, and it kind of just narrows it down.
That works for me, Commissioner.
Well, because the thing about it is the tractor he's got now is a 5625, 16 years old. You're not gonna have that model anymore, probably.
No.
No.
I can remember on the board when we bought it. I mean, but, yeah, I'm like that with you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have no problem doing that. But-
Okay.
Yeah.
And what fund is this coming out of?
Airport funds.
Airport funds.
The
Mr.
budget,
Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve
Okay.
9,000.
Thank
All
you.
right.
I'll
So we have a
second.
motion to approve by Commissioner Croom, second by Commissioner Ward. The other thing I would say under discussion, Michael, is if you do talk about a different tractor at all, make sure it's going to be able to handle the attachments we're talking about.
Yes, oh, we got attachments for that particular
Yeah.
model.
Because that's, you know what I mean? So we're not hindering ourselves for anything in the future.
Yes.
Because they might have a cheaper tractor, they might have a smaller tractor, but it can't take the attachment.
Yes,
So-
or there's not as many attachments for
Right,
that
right.
particular model, yes, so that's what we have to make sure also.
They'll tell you what you need.
Yes.
All right.
Like any good car dealer,
There
Commissioner,
you
they'll
go.
tell you what you
Any
need.
additional discussion before we vote?
Mr. Chairman, real quick, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Are they gonna deliver this?
Yes, more than likely they'll deliver.
Is a delivery fee included in that price?
I'll ask, usually it's
'Cause-
included.
I don't know.
What worries me more, to be
You don't wanna
honest.
assume.
Yeah, I know, what Commissioner Emerson and I were talking about, that if we go through, any maintenance contracts or anything, that the maintenance is done here versus having to take the
Yeah.
tractor up to Tallahassee.
Yeah.
That's what I'm more concerned
I
about.
like that too, but I don't want to approve 89,000 and then them come back and say, well, we're gonna charge a delivery fee of
Okay, I'll ask about it.
200, 300, whatever it's gonna cost.
Make sure delivery fee is included.
Yeah. So do we need to amend the motion to state the delivery fee, or?
I'm just gonna,
Okay, all right.
All right, any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's a 4-0 vote.
Commissioners, item 6 is a request from BBCOC, which is the Big Bend Continuum of Care. It's an invoice for membership dues. And I kind of skip over, let me just say, so we joined that years and years ago. And Commissioner Sanders, you remember a while back, it's years and years ago, I'm saying a while back, they had started off with this homeless, they were gonna try and fight homeless within this region and these counties, and I would tell you, it's been quite a few years. I don't think we've appointed any commissioners to that board in years. I remember myself going to a couple of those meetings, or participating in those meetings. So I guess my question is, before we renew, and since we haven't heard from them and had a member on there, appointee for years, would you like me to ask them to come down before we pay membership dues?
I would.
And make a presentation to the board and say, you know, here's what we've done over the years. We
I'd
really,
like to know how many people,
How they
homeless people they have
yes.
helped in Franklin County.
you know, like, the chairman and I were talking yesterday, isn't there some new legislation
Yes, there
that you
is.
cannot
Camping.
sleep outside anymore?
Camping.
Camping in
stuff
public
like that,
places, yeah.
which would affect homelessness in some way. So what are they doing about that? I can invite them down to a meeting in the future before we send them our dues if the board decides to stay. That's not good. So.
What is it?
Yeah, but still that's not good. But anyway, yes, Commissioner, so would you guys tell me what direction you'd like me to take with that?
I mean, I'm good with what you're saying. I do think that we have a completely different boards from when we engaged with them last time. And so I do think they need to come present something to us so they'll know, so we can get some understanding, because we do have homeless people in our communities. So, you know, if there's any way that can be addressed better, then we need to shore up that partnership. As far as the dues, I mean, it's $500. I'm good with paying it now or paying it later, it doesn't matter, but that's not a big dues amount is what I'm saying. But whatever the board wants to do, I'm good with. But I do think we need some engagement and communication with that entity, so we can, you know, kind of, you know, get them to show us what we need to know and how we can be of assistance to what they're trying to do.
Help them help us.
Yes.
Yeah. And I would like Commissioner Ward, you know, since she's on, is it one Franklin or Franklin one?
Team Franklin.
Team Franklin, to kind of let them know about that when they show up. And so, because I think they need to work together with Team Franklin to get to our goal of helping homeless people in the county.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have them come down for a presentation. Attached, if I could move on, Mr. Chairman, you have your TDC collections attached. If you need any questions, you give Mr. Solomon a call. Steve already talked about item 8, the flood at Ottawa Top. For that, there's a letter of support I sent to the school. They're trying to get, I did for the school, I'm sorry, the school district. They're trying to get additional credentials added to the state of Florida's master credential list, which in turn would help the students out there get those credentials, which, commissioners, I will tell you, drone is the next thing.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
telling you guys, that's a lot of the interest at the airport. It's about drones, using our airport drones facilities. I'll leave it at that. But yes, the more credentials are, because, you know, that's one of the questions I ask everyone that comes to us. Hey, we'd like to use your airport, you know, for our drone facility, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, how can you help our students in school? Will you intern them? Take them as an intern, you know, help them get their certifications and then hire them. So their answer is yes. But, you know, we need to hold people to, you know, put their money where their mouth is. So anyway, I did that. You had a jail inspection. The chairman reminded me it's been a while since I've added the jail inspections to the reports. But yes, they're very proud of this. The jail is, remember, the sheriff runs the jail for the county. They're really proud that this was a surprise visit, and with that, there were no compliance issues. That's a big victory, because in the past, remember, we had some inmates' health issues that we had to deal with, but so that's really good. Now, I'm gonna pause there, because I want to thank the sheriff for a couple of things. One, he, we were at he came over to the office for the code enforcement meeting that we had, he walked outside, he called me outside, so he had his inmates come in and repaint the parking spots at our admin office over in East Point. And the inmates, they also tidied up with the landscaping, and we had like 4 or 5 cabinets that we moved from here. They dropped them off of there. They were in the drive-through. They took them all upstairs. So I really want to thank the sheriff for doing that. That helped tremendously, to be very honest with you. So he did great there.
Well, and while you're on that, Michael, I talked to him over the weekend. So he's got, I believe, I might be misquoted, I think he's got himself and 5 other, or himself making the total of 5, from our local sheriff's department down in Manatee County.
Oh, that's where they went?
Helping with stuff that these people are going through with the destruction. And they represent Franklin County, and I told him thank you from the board.
Yes.
For doing that and having that, you know, willingness to help and assist. We've been assisted in so many ways from other agencies in our time of need.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad we're able to go in some way and try to do the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm glad you brought that up, because I've always been an advocate for helping others too, because again, we may need help.
Yeah.
That's why when Dixie County was hit with, gosh, I forgot so many storms, but
Adalia.
Adalia.
It was? When
Steve and Angela went to help. So I'm all about, I know we're short-staffed when it comes to county people, but if we've got a way to send somebody down to help in any way, by all means, you know, I think we should do that.
Yeah.
I think it's just the right thing to do.
Yes. If I may, Item 11 is only for the records because, you know, when we were going through the renewal of the FBO lease, you know, it was directed that they turn the keys into me, which they did. But now the airport manager and Scott, everybody, they said the keys for the hangars need to be back at the airport because now, like when the storm came and they needed to evacuate and see what planes were in what hangar, when we thought we were going to get a direct hit, they had no access. So the keys are now in a lockbox at the airport. I just needed to put that on the record in case we ever have to research when that happened. Your county holiday schedule is on the agenda, slightly different from the courthouse schedule. And your next meeting is November 5th. That will be on election day, actually. And commissioners, that's all I have. And
Mr. Chairman, I have something.
All right, go ahead.
oh, sure.
I was gonna wait to bring this up, but I'll go ahead and bring it up now. You know, we had talked about road paving funds, as Commissioner Croom, we had some money coming out of road paving funds earlier. You know, I was trying to think of a way, we gotta figure out a way to come up with some more money to be able to go into these funds. So I do a lot of research, I think we all do our research, but there is a gap. You know, we get money from our road paving funds with the gas tax. So anytime somebody comes in, fills up with fuel at our gas station, fills up their boat, that goes to our county coffers it goes to the state, but some of it comes back to us. So right now, you know, there's what's called a 9th cent tax. Right now, Franklin County is unutilized with that. So we're getting, let's see, the 9th cent is, we get 0 for the 1 to 5, we get 1 for the 9, but then 1 to 5 cents, 5. So our total unutilized tax rate is I think that's 5 because it's very small print. My point is we have so much unrealized tax revenue, and it's not from us again. Like, I mean, obviously if I go fill up at a local tank, yes, it's gonna hit me in my pocket, but it's mainly for it's a sales tax essentially. So anytime somebody comes up with fuel, that's money that our county is probably millions of dollars that we're missing out in every year, and that goes for diesel fuel, any kind of fuel. And this is something that I'm gonna eventually have to talk to Attorney Schuler about, and probably Aaron, because in order to get this, we have to put it. There's 2 ways per Florida statute. You can do it on a referendum, or the board can make a decision. Me personally, I don't want to make a board decision without incorporating our county people that live within the county. But that's something I think that moving forward, that's the only way that we could probably get more money to help with our road paving funds. So I know this is the first time we can all talk about this. So that's why I'm bringing it up, because I'd rather bring it up now than later. I know the chairman has been looking at it too.
Yep. On that chart, does it give you what the collections were or what they would have been if we're there, or is that included?
I think this is more generalized. It's not generalized per county.
Right.
But just in what little research I've done, as with some of the other stuff, millions of dollars. So the total just to give you an idea on the 9 cents, for 2024, 2025, now of course this is not quite here, let's say 2023, 24, over $1 million. So it's gone up 1%, but that's money that we could be getting back for our road paving funds to help infrastructure for our road. And it's not just roadways, this goes for infrastructure. This can also go towards fire hydrants, fire infrastructure that I've talked about. I think it even can go towards, I want to say some law enforcement capabilities.
It's pretty broad.
It's very broad, very broad.
And
So that's something
to
that
give us flexibility.
Yeah. So I was going to have you run a copy of this for all the rest of the commissioners. Now, granted, this is just, and if you look at, there's something called the Department of Revenue Federal Tax Book. It's like 300 pages. I've looked through all 300 pages, and it blows your mind how much money that our county has unrealized tax revenue that we could get for infrastructure that we're not capturing right now. Right. It will blow your mind.
Right.
So this is, I think, pages 200 something to 200 something. But anyway, if you go look that book up, it's called the Financial Handbook for the Department of Revenue. That's just the gas tax. There's so many other taxes. I know we do our small county tax for the hospital, but there are so many other taxes in there that we could get money for. It's just a matter of doing it. So I was going to meet with Attorney Schuler, with Aaron.
Okay.
I think I talked to Aaron about that
And
before.
what I'll do,
I'm not sure,
I'll
but-
make copies for you guys today, but I'll scan it and add it to the agenda so the public
Yeah.
will be able to
And if
look
you
at
can
it.
blow that chart up, those are all the counties,
Yeah.
all 67 counties. It's kind of small print, so I
Yeah.
don't know if you can maybe blow that up where it just shows Franklin.
Yeah, I'll try.
But,
it.
If you send it as a PDF, we can probably.
We could,
Yeah,
yeah,
it'll,
Zoom, yeah.
it'll blow your mind.
Mr. Chairman, one thing, if we're finished with that, I wasn't gonna do it, and I just here standing thinking about it. So, this morning, there was public comment about reaching Justin and myself. I'm sorry to say, I'm gonna use your, what did you say? Anyway, so, even on my voicemail, Commissioner, I don't think I've ever had anybody say they couldn't reach me, because even on my voicemail, it has my email. And everybody knows I respond really quick to email or text as quick as I can. The same thing with Justin. Justin has been very, very responsive to anybody that's called, and he takes the time to sit and talk with them. So, again, the comments made this morning that, and again, with our office being in East Point, you can walk right up and say, hey, I'm looking for X, Y, Z, and, they'll find whoever you're looking for, I try not to respond to stuff like that, but I wanted to think that county staff in some way is unreachable, or those comments did bother me to some degree, so I probably should have let it go, Commissioner Sanders. I see your expression, I should have let it go.
To wrap up what Commissioner Ward was saying about this 9-cent possibility.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because I do have something I want to say about it. So these are the things, and it takes a little while to kind of understand where they're coming from, that when we do get to go and meet with some of our legislators and our legislative delegation and some of their, friends or the ones that they're teaming up with on legislation, these are some of the discussions they give to us when we're asking them to fund scrap and SCOP even more.
Yes.
They need to put more money there. And it's okay, but you guys, we have 67 counties. You're like in the bottom 3 on the amount that you collect, that you have authority over.
That's what they tell you.
And you're not doing what you should be doing, but you're asking us to fund it more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just a for instance. We have that conversation on several levels about several different things, because they're saying, well, you guys have that ability, and you can't, among your board, pass and authorize to do more that you're empowered to do, but you want us to do more.
Yes.
So that's
Like-
one of the,
But now, I have to
I just
say-
want people to understand why we're even bringing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we can only do what we can do.
But now, I have to say, on scrap, the original scrap with
Yeah.
X amount of dollars, they have came below that X amount
Oh,
of
yeah.
dollars.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I can't.
They keep
Well,
sweeping
we
that
can't-
money, Commissioner Sanders, from those programs.
Yeah.
The
But now,
legislature
see,
sweeping
scrap,
out of scrap.
scrap, Scott, all that was physically constrained county.
Yeah, small county outreach, yeah.
So, I mean, there was a reason why,
Well,
so,
the
that we were there, but.
thing too with that, Mr. Chairman, is that's the whole reason why we probably should proactively think of moving
Yes.
ahead.
Yes.
That if we don't, they say they do scrap, or say we're not putting any more money in that,
Yeah.
then that's money that we have
We've been
to
there.
be able to use. And that's why I brought up many times back when we start talking about the forestry or all these removal of trees. People don't realize this, and I've done this on research, and that's why I asked you the last time when they were doing McIntyre Road, are we getting reimbursement for that timber set? Those timber sales comes back to the county, which we come to find out, realize that we have an agreement where it goes to the school.
School district.
But that was my whole point, is like, I want to capture whatever monies we can to help our infrastructure, to help whatever we can, because a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
We have so much unrealized tax revenue within this county, it's insane, and we need to, like I said, moving forward, look at that.
Yeah, Commissioner
We
Sanders,
we
who was,
definitely need to look at the 910 to go to paving. We definitely need to.
who
look
was
at
it
that.
years and years ago came before the board and said, we actually, by having the low millage rate that we had, we were excluding ourselves out of certain grants. Do you remember what it was? They came right, I can't remember what we were talking about, and they kind of, the same discussion you had, Mr. Chairman, that they said, well, you guys kind of help yourselves, you know, before you ask us to help you.
No.
That's,
No, that was a message that Governor Bush gave me many years
oh,
ago.
okay.
When I went before the governor and cabinet on trying to get this prison out here.
That's,
He said to me, Commissioner Sanders, I appreciate your comment, but before Franklin County comes to ask the state to help them, Franklin County, help yourself.
yes.
And I will never forget that, because I was standing in the middle of the cabinet meeting with him telling me that.
Yeah.
So, but he did. But and that's the reason why we went after scrap. We went after small county outreach program. We went out of county incentive grant program. That's the reason why. And that's the reason why we you know, it wasn't helping us. Scrap wasn't helping us. Small counties I mean, it was helping small counties, but not small counties, because our millage rate was down, our gas tax was down. So I can only remember the day that we went from 4 cents to 5 cents on gas tax.
Yep.
And then went from 5 to 6.
Yep.
And that made us qualify
For those programs.
scrap.
That's crazy.
And we were so proud.
Sounds so backwards, but that's, I'm sorry.
It is.
But I mean, that's the way it was. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why when somebody don't know the history about everything, that's the reason why I know what to know about scrap, Scott,
Yeah,
and all
same
that. Because I was on the, forefront of it.
Yeah.
Man, a lot of other commissioners.
Especially at the state level with the
Oh,
Small
yeah.
County Coalition
Yeah,
pushing
small
for that.
counties and stuff, so
Yeah.
we were there. But can I ask Michael a
Yes.
question? And I think I may have forgot it.
No.
Oh, talking about the bathrooms, now I remember. Talking about bathrooms, did the bathrooms ever get fixed out there at the airport?
Yes, yes.
You know what I'm talking
yes.
about?
Where they had to remove the wall to change all the pipes and get rid of the mold, and yes, it was.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because it was an ongoing
You
problem
mean
there for
in
a
the
while.
FBO, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure the bathrooms were fixed.
Yeah, and the project we're doing right now in East Point with the road by the library is a scrap funded project.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it comes from that 6 cent. All right, so anything else from Mr. Morone? All right, well, Noah and Commissioner Amos is gonna show up any minute. Let's take a 5-minute recess and then we'll do a turn to show. Franklin County Board of County Commissioners now back in session. Since Commissioner Amison was able to rejoin the meeting, Mr. Jones, you're up next. We'll come back to you. Thank you for being patient with us.
No problem. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Ken Jones. I'm a consultant. I do a lot of work with the Apalachicola Riverkeeper, and one of my major projects is the Apalachicola River Slough Restoration. Today, I'm going to talk about a different project and kind of bring you some history about how we came to this project and what we're looking for today. So today I'm going to talk about the East Bay Sediment Removal project, and as part of the slough restoration work that we've been doing in Gulf County and Franklin County. Those were 3 pilot projects that we've been doing for the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation through approvals by DEP and FWC. We're presently doing the construction in Gulf County to restore flows into 2 lower swamp areas of the Chipola and the Apalachicola River, and we're in permits under the East River project in Franklin County. Now, all these projects are tied to basically the distribution of sediments from erosion created by the dredging processes of the Corps of Engineers. As part of the 3 projects we did, NIFWIF came back to us and said, we really like these projects. We would like for you to prioritize all of the sloughs between basically Bluntstown and the bay. And so we went through a very long, detailed process, interviewing, surveys, et cetera, looking at all of the potential projects that NIFWIF may want to fund. And one of those included the East Bay Sediment Removal Project. Now, this project really culminated from our discussions with the blue crabbing industry and the fishermen here. And it's tied to this decline in the blue crab fishery over the last 20 to 30, 40 years, and also decline in shrimp and other fisheries that use the East Bay area as nursery grounds. And one of the things in all the work that I've done over the past 30 years in the Apalachicola system is we always recognized that East Bay was one of the most important portions of the Apalachicola Bay system because of its nursery ground areas, the shrimp. 90% of all commercial fishes spend some point in their life history in the East Bay system. And in our conversations with the blue crabbers, was that this large decline in this fishery was due in large part to the sediments coming down East River, the St. Marks River, the Little St. Marks River, and the distribution of these sterile sands along that northern edge of the swampy areas, displacing the mucky bottoms with all the submerged and emergent aquatic vegetation with sterile sands. And this has created a situation where the habitat has been significantly reduced and the fisheries are suffering. We put that project into our prioritization program, and NIFWIF came back and said, we love the project, it's great, but it's not consistent with the other slough restoration projects. We'd like for you to see if you can continue working on that, working through the potential ways to get it funded. We'll obviously support you, but it's not one of these projects. Dr. Andy Gannon, who is at Dolphin Island, has been studying blue crabs for the last 25 years in this area. He was a main producer putting together this proposal. And basically what the proposal is there's 3 components. One is looking at what are the sources of sand? Can we trace the sources of sand back to the dredging operations in the river itself? And that's really important because as they're starting to rebuild the dams upstream, there's going to be a push to reestablish dredging and navigation in the river. And I will point out navigation and dredging are two different topics, and we can talk about that at a later date. But also the amount of dredging from Pinhook all the way down the last 8 miles down to the bay itself. And so understanding what those sources are and being able to use that information to better deal with the Corps and the way they operate their system and how they dispose of that material, because we believe that's one of the major causes of the slough restoration issues, but also the East Bay issues. So the research and mapping and the programming is one aspect. The restoration component is the second. We would do a pilot project removing a significant section of these sterile sands, depositing them outside of the bay system so that we could demonstrate that we could restore a section of these areas in back to the organic, mucky bottom, vegetative state that blue crab, shrimp, and other species they want to live in, which would improve the crabbing and shrimping industries. And then the third thing is there's an educational component, and we've talked with the folks in Franklin County school system, and what we want to do is write in a program looking at the use of drones. I think we were talking about drones a little bit earlier, but also what are the products that when we use drones, what kind of data do we collect? LiDAR, GIS data, and things like that. And so they are really excited about trying to work with us to help reinvigorate that kind of technical aspect of the kind of the work we do. And this is all work that we need to be able to do to map these sediments. So we have been working on this for the last kind of couple years, trying to search for a way to get it funded. We've been continually going back to FWC and NIFWIF. One of the steps was obviously to come to the commission and to explain what we're doing. We met with Commissioner Emerson and Aaron and Michael a few weeks ago. We've pretty well flushed out what our goals and objectives are. We talked to them about the possibility of getting support from Franklin County, and also what are some funding potentials to push this forward. There's 3 pots of money that the county plays in as far as these kind of restoration projects, and all of them came back and said we really need to look at Triumph as a place to go. And we think that there's a good avenue going to Triumph to see whether we can get funded through those. And so we've kind of pulled down all that information. We've started to put together a Triumph application. So today what I'm here to talk to you all about is just basically kind of giving you this really brief overview of what we're trying to get accomplished. The kind of tell you that it's something that we've been working on a long time. It's very important for the system, and that we are asking for support. It's our intention. The Riverkeeper has made a commitment to kind of put in the sweat equity, to write the proposal, follow through with all the process. But obviously having the county recognize that this is a very important project. There's a number of aspects that are important to the county, and the support from the county going through the Triumph process is critical. We need to have that support. And so basically what we would come back to you once we get all this paperwork together and start the process of talking to Triumph would be to get that letter of support from the county as one of the county's priority projects for the restoration of Apalachicola Bay. So that's what I'm looking for today.
Okay. Mr. Ken, first, thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Sure.
First, a couple of questions. So is what you're asking for the river keepers to be able to apply for Triumph funding, or for the Riparian Stakeholder Council?
The Apalachicola River Keepers
Okay.
agreed to support the funding, to be the organizations.
Would they would be the one applying? That's what I
Yes,
guess
that's
okay.
correct. That's correct.
Okay, I don't think I understood that until just a
Okay.
minute ago.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's just the way it was presented.
Yes.
The only thing I'll say is, where's this 33,000 cubic yards of material going?
So, one of the major issues with the way the Corps dredges the system is that they dispose of it within the basin. They dispose of it within the watershed. And so part of this exercise would be to take that material and take it away out of the bay, out of the watershed proper. Now, a lot of that material is potentially decent material. It could be sorted and used in fill conditions. At one point, we were talking to the school board about some areas that they may want to have filled for future construction and things like that. But it would be taken outside of and disposed of outside of the system. If the material is good, we would take it to whatever area it needed to be. If it was beach quality sand, it could go to the beach. The landfill is looking for material, so there's a lot of different options that we could use.
So we don't really have a plan yet for where it's going, but we know it's not going to remain in the basin.
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I was trying to find out. The only other thing I see in here, just me personally, so it's including indirect cost, and what they're asking for is a grant?
Yes.
There should be no indirect cost.
Well,
Indirect costs are never covered in the grant. Let me put it the other way. So I know at the Regional Planning Council, our indirect costs are covered by dues from the member organizations. They're not covered by any kind of grant.
The
It's always
indirect
outside
costs.
of
The indirect costs in here are the operational components of the grant itself. The indirect costs within the grant. So
Wouldn't that be under project management?
Well, that's possible, but I know in my experience with NIFWIF, they basically set aside 15%. That's the negotiated amount. If Triumph doesn't allow for indirect costs, which is fine, then yes,
Right.
that would be wrapped into a project.
Oh, I'm assuming that's going to be a more difficult conversation than you think.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to throw Triumph under
yeah.
the, I just know,
You probably know Triumph better than I do.
we just been there before. We've been at the table before is all I'm
That's
saying.
right, that's right.
I'm not being differential
Yeah.
or trying to say anything bad. However, looking at it, sorry, I just have a lot of questions.
Sure.
So how did you come up 52, do you guys already hired the contractor, or you going to bid it out?
No, we would bid it out.
Okay.
Similar to what we do.
So all I would ask from Franklin County, if you're going to bid it out, if we support you guys going to Triumph and you actually get funding, we need to make sure that at least our local county can also share that bid component when it comes up. So if there is anybody local, they can put in a bid. That's the only.
That's absolutely a big part of what we have done in Gulf County. And as a matter of fact, we have a memorandum of understanding with Gulf County of all the material that we pull out of the sloughs in Gulf County.
Yes.
They have the first right of refusal, and
that sounds like a good idea.
We deposited at the Lister Landing up off 391, and they walk in and they say, I like that dirt, and they load it in their trucks and they drive it away. Or I don't like the dirt, and we take it to our disposal area. So
That sounds like a great idea.
That's part of an MOU we signed in agreement with Gulf County.
So
yes, we would absolutely do that.
We might want to have that same discussion.
And I think I'm speaking for Michael and Aaron, but I think there's enough interest, and we would obviously want to continue working very closely with the county.
Yes.
And we would keep them up to date and work with them. the entire process. And just as an aside, I'm actually a Franklin County property owner. I live out of Dog Island, but I've done a lot of work out there for FEMA and such, and we actually use Franklin County's basic contracts and all that. So our bid process follows very closely to what you all do. Just it's a good contract, and that's my experience is to work with good contracts.
Yeah, and when you were mentioning earlier at the beginning of your presentation about the rebuilding of dams, you were referring to what was brought to the ARPC about them doing the mandatory maintenance on the dams that has actually not been done for a long period of time.
That's correct. The over 20 years, they have not maintained the locks or the gates. And the Corps of Engineers they have 101 million. They are presently working on Woodruff. So Woodruff will be open probably into next year, and you'll be able to lock through Woodruff again, which you haven't been able to for ages. But they're also doing Andrews and George. And I will tell you, and if you're interested, there's a Tri-Rivers meeting in Bainbridge next month, but the next ask is going to be dredging on the Apalachicola River and bringing navigation back. So.
Yeah, that would be the only thing I think too, and I don't want to speak for everybody here, and I'm about to shut up, but I did have a question.
No, it's all good.
The commercial component is something I think that I could support, a commercial component. Now, I know there's a lot of things to be addressed, just like I told you before the meeting a while ago. So we had conversations with the Corps about the big mound of sand that's on the east side of the bank at Abercrombie. If they would have put it on the west side, we could have already moved it.
Yeah.
But with it on the east side, it has to be loaded on a dredge and brought over the river to be able to try to put it then in dump trucks and actually haul it off and keep it from going into the bay. Because one of the other things we need to pursue as a board, going by some of the language that's presented us today with this chapter 111 for the Corps.
Section 111, yeah.
Section 111 is what can we do about the head of the bay and how it's all stopped up with all this sand that's been washing down from the dredging that's happened.
Well, notwithstanding Bird Island and the, all your waves are coming from West Pass, from fronts, and you continue to erode it, and you look at that channel that goes out there, it looks crazy. And so what can they do to stabilize that? And I mean, there's a lot of things that the Corps should be able to have more pointed conversations with you folks about, and I wish they would.
All right. Any other commissioners have any questions? I apologize. I wasn't trying to take all the time. I just was preloaded for this.
No, that's good.
I will say this, Mr. Chairman, that anybody that's been over there on that water for a very long time knows that bottom has changed. And I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it again. But when I was 20 years old, you jump overboard at, let's say, Little Bay, and you go up to your chest in mud. Now you go over there, you run aground, and you get out and push off. I mean, it's hard bottom. I've got my opinions. I've always said, since we've the commercial traffic has left, I believe it got worse. Because it's my idea that if you've got good flows coming down, which has also been an issue over the last 30 plus years, is flow restrictions. And I told them, I said, the only way to get a boat down is with water. So if you got commercial traffic, there's gonna be water coming down. You're gonna have flow because it's not gonna, it don't have wheels, it's got a float. I think that ever since then, over a period of time, we've had such a minimal flow that the water where it used to just blow the sand on out, now it's just kind of trickled out and it's went into the head of the bay. I'm just curious. I would like to see where it's, if we can't address a problem, and I say we collectively, as every agency involved, until we can identify what the problem is. And I think we all know that it's probably coming from the dredging. I'm not opposed to dredging, I'm not saying that. But if we can get some commercial traffic back down and maintain stuff, do something with the debris in the future, we will probably get away with not having this issue again. But at first, we got to identify what it is the way I feel about it. But anyway.
Okay, just a side comment, and you alluded to it, but I do wear another hat, and that's I'm the technical coordinator for the Riparian County Stakeholder Coalition.
Yeah.
You all pay in dues every year to support me and the work that we do. So this is an incredibly important discussion to have, and I don't know what the proper forum would be, but I'm perfectly happy to provide you all with some sort of workshop or forum or discussion on bringing you back up to the history of dredging and commercial navigation on the Apalachicola River, some of the issues, the way the Corps operates, why they may want one thing or another, why they dispose of where they do. I'm happy to have that discussion with you in a public or workshop format. That's my role with the RCSC, is to inform. So if at your pleasure, I'm happy to do that. There's just a lot of issues that are going to come up, and speaking to what you're talking about, because the locks have been closed for so long, the Corps never had to worry about generating navigation traffic.
Yeah.
And so what you've seen is this decay of flows because they're protecting the reservoirs and the amount of water in the reservoirs up there. If there was navigation, there would be more flows, at least up to June. So that's a big issue that we can. So anyway, that's an offer on the table. Just talk to Michael and we can set something up.
We'll try to set one of those up. I think it'd be beneficial since we are a part of the Riparian Stakeholder Council.
Absolutely, and
So,
I'm
yes.
happy to do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. The other thing is as we address going forward, try to address some of these other needs. I'm good with us supporting this today with a letter to go to Triumph, but I also want to open the discussion about, and we can put it in the motion if y'all are wanting to, of working out some kind of memorandum if they're approved, and going forward, if it's dredged on the river in Franklin County, we want to have some kind of, with the river keeper, we want to have some kind of right of first refusal to that material for Franklin County. Because we could put it above Abercrombie on the west side where we can actually get to it.
Yeah. That's not a problem.
Will we be able to get to it from there? That's private land.
As long as, well, we can look and see, or find another spot if it's not Abercrombie. Maybe it's the mill pond, but find somewhere where we can put it that we can actually get to it instead of it just being.
I'm just saying, my wheels went to turning when you mentioned that across, because it kind of, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it where the boat ramp property ends, it's all private property down through there.
I didn't know it was.
Well, that may be just purchasing or acquiring an easement
It
for
might be,
that
yeah.
use. So,
Yes.
and that happens all the
That
time.
might be the reason why it had never got done before.
Could have, yeah, could have. But anyway, I know there's a huge mound across the.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a mountain.
Yeah, when they were talking to us about, and this is an aside, but when they were talking to us 2 years ago about the possibility of Franklin County using that sand, that kind of broke down on the conversation of them actually using the dredge to get it to us. But it was something like 2,800 dump truck loads. Yeah, it's a little bit. It was a little bit of sand.
20,000 yards, something like that, yeah.
It was a lot.
Well, and as far as your section 11 goes, part of that study should be doing the sediment analysis on all of their disposal sites up and down the river, and
Yes.
and how can that be utilized as part of a beach nourishment. So
Right.
that's all fair game as far as I would be concerned with conversations with the Corps.
That's right. Any additional questions for Mr. Jones? All right, pleasure of the board.
I make a motion that we support their endeavor with Triumph.
All right. All right, so we have a motion to approve the support for applying to Triumph for funding to help get this project completed from Commissioner Amison, second from Commissioner Croom. Any additional discussion, Commissioners?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, can we add that MOU of the county's got first rights to the?
We could, but maybe that needs to be a second
Okay.
motion, because that's not affecting
Okay,
Triumph.
all right.
It's just between
Well,
us and them.
this is an easy commitment, but if we're gonna do construction in your bay, we're gonna be back here before we put these bids out on the street, and we're gonna have discussions, so
Yeah.
we plan on working with the NRDS, who's gonna be doing a major sediment study
Yeah.
of the whole river system, and we've been coordinating with them.
Yep.
We'll have borings, we'll have quality material, we'll have boring reports, we'll be able to show them to you and say,
Yeah.
do you want it or not?
Right.
You know, those kind of things, and we will work out how to best organize that. It's cheaper for us to give it to you than
Right.
it is for us to find a way to
Right,
dispose
right.
of it, so,
All right.
I don't think that's gonna be a problem.
Thank you. Any other discussion before we vote on this motion of approval? All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Now, Commissioner, if you want to make a motion to approve working out with Turner Schuler, trying to get an MOU for this and any future dredging in Franklin County that's going to involve them removing material from the basin, that Franklin County has a right of first refusal, and we'll work out ourselves to try to find a spot for it to be placed.
Yes, I'll make that motion, all what he just said.
All right, so we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion, Commissioners? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
So with that, I will be back to you shortly.
Yep.
I don't know when it will be, but we're presently working on the East River project.
Yep.
We're in permit. We're dealing with a private property issue on there, and we won't go to construction until after we get all of those things. But there's 30,000 cubic yards of material that we are presently gonna put in the WEA that I'll send the information over to Michael, and as we get closer, if you want it, we'll figure out a way
Okay.
for you to
All right.
haul it up. We'll bring it up, dry it, put it in piles,
Yep.
and if you want it, you can have it, and we'll work out the MOU. But that's happening right now.
Yep.
You know, I think it's gonna take another year to get it all permitted, but that's 30,000 yards of sand that might be
And I,
valuable to you.
thank you, Mr. Ken. I know there's a lot going on right now, especially with this time of year, getting close to the holidays. But probably around the first of the year, we want to try to have either that workshop setting or that formal presentation.
Okay.
So we can discuss some of the things like
No,
we
that's,
talked about.
that's perfect.
But we'll be in touch about that as
That'd be
well.
great, thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for your all's time,
Yep.
so.
Thank you. All right, Turner Schuler, we're up to you.
All right, sir. Just before Hurricane Helene hit, the county started a negotiation to relocate the antenna for the the St. Teresa Alligator Point Volunteer Fire Department Communications antenna. Hurricane Helene then knocked down their existing tower and antenna, and at the last board meeting, y'all just approved the purchase of a new antenna. The negotiation with the replacement tower locations with a company named SBA. We have not come to a final agreement for me to return to you for your consideration, but there is a movement forward that I'm going to recommend to you, because as part of the negotiation, they have an addendum to their lease. In that addendum, they are requiring a structural analysis of their current tower, and I'm recommending that the board pay for and receive that structural analysis before you actually execute any lease with SBA, because I have not been successful in modifying paragraph 3 of that addendum, which states that in the event that the tower or the foundation shall need to be reinforced prior to the installation of the county's equipment, all modifications and/or reinforcement of or other work on the tower foundation and the installation of the tenant's equipment on the tower will be at, in this case, the county is the tenant's sole cost and expense, and performed by owner or one of its affiliates or subsidiaries. I had caught that item and flagged it because it concerned me, because there's no qualification or out provision on that obligation to repair and improve based on whatever the structural analysis provides. And so It's a little bit odd spending money to do an analysis when we don't have a lease, but I think in this case it's necessary. So I am recommending that the board authorize the $2,500 that's been quoted for the structural analysis, so we can, keep this process moving forward while the negotiations on the overall lease continue. My expectation, based on an email from SBA's representative yesterday, is that it will take between 5 and 10 days to get the structural analysis back. And speaking with Mr. George Varn, who was with the Alligator Point St. Teresa Volunteer Fire Department, Williams Communication has indicated to him that it will take probably, maybe as much as 6 weeks to get the antenna equipment in once it's been ordered. It certainly may come in sooner than that, and you would hope that it would once it's ordered, but it could be, safe harbor is 6 weeks. So I will go into any more detail that the board has regarding the current lease and the negotiations, but my request today is to authorize $2,500 on the purchase order to require or to obtain the structural analysis so we can see, are they going to require any additional funds from Franklin County to improve and strengthen the tower and the foundation as part of placing the equipment.
I make a motion that we approve the 2,500
Okay.
as the attorney has recommended.
All right. So we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Sanders, second by Commissioner Croom. Any discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman,
All
real
right, go
quick.
ahead.
The $2,500, is that coming out of capital outlay or the MSBU
Professional
funds?
services.
Professional service? Okay.
And you approve,
I called the fiscal manager before I prepared my report and got permission.
I think you approved up to, was it 60, Commissioner Sanders?
Was
What
it?
we did the
Yeah,
last
okay.
meeting?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Okay.
for the equipment.
Yeah,
That-
that, I was gonna say, that's
yes.
separate though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Out of the OCRA for Apalachicola.
Don't, let's,
All right, so any more discussion before we vote? So, I'll ask you a question you may or may not know. Has the tower already been ordered, or are they waiting on this analysis first?
The antenna has not yet been ordered as of yesterday. Is that changed, Mr. Vaughn? Okay. The antenna has not yet been ordered.
Yeah, whatever, we gotta move this along. I mean, I hate, end of November don't sound good to me, but that's just me.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
may I?
yes, sir, please come forward.
Just to be clear, the SBA tower is an existing 300-foot tower, 1.4 miles west of Bay North. So it's an existing major structural
Right.
tower. So it's just the
Right.
antenna equipment.
Right, but you're doing analysis to make sure you can handle the extra weight of what we're gonna add to it.
Yes, so they
Correct.
require
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
it's the same one that was in the drawing the last meeting
Right.
when we approved the money. All
Right.
those drawings, yes, same one.
Okay.
Mrs.
So,
Clark talked about.
a question, I'm sorry, and I'm a little confused, it might be a blonde moment, I don't know. So we're putting
not.
equipment on a tower that's fallen, that's what the structure, that's what we're just approving, is the structural integrity of that.
No.
No,
What they're going to do, the way I understand it, in my lawyer brain and not my engineer brain, because I'm not an engineer, is our equipment is roughly 100 pounds for the antenna and I guess the frame that bolts it to the tower. That's the information I've been given. The tower company is requiring a structural analysis to make sure that their tower can handle that
Ah, I
additional
see.
weight,
Yeah.
both the
Okay.
tower and the foundation.
Okay.
I understand it's not exactly a brand-new tower, but I can't imagine 100 pounds is going to make a difference. But that's why the first request was, well, why do you need structural analysis? It's not much weight. They would not budge off of that. My next follow-up was, well, then will you modify paragraph 3 so that if the structural analysis comes back, and just worst-case scenario, you want $300,000 in improvements to your tower and foundation, the board can back out. I didn't get any successful response to that. So my fallback position to keep this thing moving forward is, let's do the structural analysis now, see what it comes back, and hopefully we'll resolve all the other issues between now and 10 days from now.
Okay.
Or up
That's
to
clear.
10 days from now.
Thanks for the clarification, I was kind of, we're talking about two different towers.
To move
Yes.
it ahead, yeah.
So remember, also part of the list, what they had at the last meeting was to demolish one of the towers. The one that fell is the one they're gonna demolish,
Okay.
and we're moving to the SBA
Gotcha.
tower.
All right.
Okay. All right, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay, and just as an aside, before we move on from the antenna, one issue that just came to light was the length of the lease that's going to be proposed, and talking with Ms. Aaron yesterday as part of, where's the money coming from, and are you going to fuss at me for recommending that the board spend money on a tower we're not leasing? we talked about this new emergency communications system. Mr. Barn and I had also talked about that emergency communication system as it relates to the length of the term of the proposed lease. Ms. Aaron tells me that she thinks that we could do it within 3 to 5 years.
Yep.
So I'm going to add to the discussion a modification of the lease term, initial term of 3 years, renewal up to 2 years, just so the board knows.
Yep.
The next issue, action item on my report regards the termination of the lease for the building that currently houses the Supervisor of Elections office at 47 Avenue F, Apalachicola. Currently, the county leases that property from Mr. Harry Arnold as part of the movement of the Supervisor of Elections office from our current building into the courthouse annex. The Supervisor of Elections has requested a termination date of March 31st, 2025. I spoke with Mr. Kent Arnold, who's Mr. Harry Arnold's son. He's handling all of Mr. Harry's business for him right now. And Kent said he was perfectly fine with the termination date that I've stated. So I'm asking the board to do two things. One is to approve March 31st, 2025 as the termination date, and then to adopt and ratify my email communication with Kent, notifying him that March 31st, 2025 is the termination date of the lease for the Supervisor of Elections building.
So we need two different motions, is what
You
you're
do that in
asking?
one motion, they're all the same subject matter.
I'll make the motion.
All right, so we have a motion to approve this lease termination that would happen March 31st of 2025 by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Amison. Any additional discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. 5-0.
Although I usually don't go over my information items, I do want to for item number 3, which is just a public announcement that the second workshop before the Planning and Zoning Board of Adjustment concerning the PUD enabling and analysis ordinance will be held November the 12th, 2024 in this building at 34 Forbes Street at 5:30 p.m. And that's all I have for the board. Any
Mr.
questions
Chairman,
for me, Mr. Chairman or Commissioners?
no, I just want to make a statement.
Yes, ma'am.
I want the public to be aware, and I watched the last P and Z meeting workshop based on this PUD workshop. I want the public to be made aware. I was embarrassed a little bit as how some of our residents treated Miss Alara Mills Gutcher. I'm not sure, is it Gutcher Mills or
I
Mills?
get
Gutcher?
confused.
Miss Alara.
Exactly.
Okay. They were I thought very rude to her, and I was kind of crouching down in my couch seat at home thinking, oh my goodness, I felt bad for her. I want the public to be aware at these subsequent workshops that she is here helping this board come up with decisions and conclusions and ideas as we move forward for our PUDs in Franklin County. She's not here to make decisions or, she's here to guide us. She's here to guide this board so that we can make the right and informed decisions based on future going forward with PUDs. And I want the public to be aware of that. I don't think that, I really felt bad for her. So I just want the public to be made aware. She's not here as an enemy. She's here to help us. So please treat her with respect and the dignity that she deserves. Because she's just here to help. That's it, plain and simple. She's not here to do anything that's something that's bad. She's just here to help. That's all.
Thanks.
All right. Anything else for Attorney Schuler?
That was a wrong meeting.
Anything? Going once?
Crickets.
Going
Crickets are
twice?
good.
Really?
No, it's, Commissioner, you're right, under Commissioner comments, you're right, and inaccurate. So what the county's trying to do with this PUD enabling ordinance is correct what we got wrong when, in our understanding, the board at that time, that was presented by Mr. Alan Pierce, is we took off the books what we had that enabled PUDs, because we had been sued for it. Because somebody wanted to do something and they weren't allowed to. And it was a lawsuit that we had just settled, and he brought to the board and said, look, if you just take it off the books, then you can address PUDs one-on-one as somebody's wanting it. Was that the best advice? whatever. So what we're trying to do is create in our zoning code, with the help of Ms. Alora, who we've hired, we need to have a PUD enabling ordinance on the books. It is not about any one project. It is about making sure we give something that's on the books that everybody can look at and say, this is the page there, and these are the lines to color in. That's all we're trying to do. Now, we have also, and I'll just go ahead and say it because it's an elephant in the room, we've also expressed to her that if and when we do have a PUD that's placed into the county, we want her that's helping walk us through this process to also be a part of that first PUD. Because if she's gonna help us create it, we don't wanna drop it off on somebody else. We wanna use her advice, her help to walk through that. That might be, 5 years from now, who knows? But that's, as my understanding, that's the discussion we've had. We just need to get something on the books. So I agree with you, Commissioner. It needs to, we could all learn to be more civil, including myself, I guess. So let's just start there.
Is it time for Commissioner?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I've got something I want to bring up. I've been staying in contact with the folks out there off of Kentucky Avenue, Mr. Kevin Libby and them. The pump have been moved. They are not needed anymore, I guess, and that's the reason why the state came in here and moved them. But the thing I want to make the board aware of is, like I said at the last meeting, I have had Caleb Brown looking at a possibility of what preliminary plans we could do with the trying to fix a problem out there with trying to get the stormwater off of the folks in the future. And like I said, I started out to tell y'all that he estimated at least a $5 million project. With saying that, he was in contact with me last week and said that the Dewberry firm up in Atlanta was looking at what funding mechanisms may be available for Franklin County. But he also said that it's going to be an engineering challenge because to do that, because you're going to basically have to be going down 10 to 12 feet to move that water out of there, because there's a 6-foot hill here and there's a 6-foot hill down the road to get it to 98. So I just want to say that we're still working on something, but it's not going to be the solution in the short term. This is something that's going to be long term. And just like your stormwater problem over on the island that you just got to see in your eye today.
Yep.
We agreed to that. This is something that's going to be long term. In the future, there's nothing we can do. It's like I said at the last meeting, the silver lining in the storm of Helene was that those folks out there could get pumps to pump that water out. In the future, unless it's a storm that's designated underneath emergency declaration, I don't know what's going to happen, because the county just can't come in there and get pumps and throw the water down to 98. So I just wanted to keep the people and the board informed on that subject. So.
Any other commissioner comments today?
Just real quick, Mr. Chairman, I want to commend county staff. Last meeting we talked about this code enforcement thing and the process, and I directed staff to meet road department and building department, planning and zoning to work together. And here today we come to a conclusion with that. And I've talked at many meetings about kicking cans down the road, and I'm tired of kicking cans down the road. And this is just the first step, I think, of future where we're not kicking cans down the road anymore. So thanks to Courtney, thanks Steve Michael, thanks to Attorney Schuler, Steve, Virginia, Howard, everybody that was involved with getting that done, because I think this is moving forward. Again, it's going to be proactive instead of reactive, and I think moving forward that's a good way to be. So thanks to all that had a hand in that, getting that done, and my fellow commissioners for voting and us getting it done.
This is something that's going to help the road department immensely too.
Yeah.
And because this is a problem. It's a big problem. People just go in there and put driveways anywhere they want to and don't do all that, so that's a good thing.
Anyone else?
I had a Commissioner question. With Michael's report, was there anything was there any board controversial stuff on there that I need to? I can't call you. I mean, I can't call you.
The tractor at
I'm
the
just
airport
trying-
caused
Yeah,
a
tractor
confusion.
We talked about that for a while.
Okay.
We're gonna let you pay for the track.
Yeah.
Oh,
Got $80,000?
No,
89.
I'm teasing.
So what we did with the tractor, we had a couple of conversations.
Mhm.
Number one, we approved up to $89,000.
Oh.
Okay. We've also asked county staff, Miss Aaron or whoever's involved, to see what it would look like to try to lease it, to see if it'd be more beneficial to lease it. We also talked about a smaller tractor, but keeping in mind that we need what we need, and if it can accept those same attachments, then yeah, scrap that idea. But we did approve up to 89,000.
Okay, and just so y'all know, I've talked with Mr. Kirchenbaum and I've talked with Michael, and I've got some experience with that lease
Yeah.
thing, and I told him what questions to ask.
Mhm.
I mean, it may not be a bad idea,
Right.
to be honest with you.
Right.
Because we don't have a dedicated mechanic, you know, we've
Yes,
run into
for
that
the
to the
airport, yes.
past. I've had experience with it with forklift leasing.
Yeah.
It benefited me so much that the company said, we can't do this no more.
Oh, wow.
So it may be very beneficial
Yeah.
to look at it and go down that avenue, so,
Okay.
just my little 2 cents with it.
But we did approve up to 89,000. Anyone else?
To piggyback off of, just one comment, piggyback off of Commissioner Sanders, I too been riding around with Caleb Brown and looking at the stormwater issues that we have in District 3.
Yeah.
And talking about the road infrastructure, and working on that flood list that we talked about last meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot to it. Anyone else?
I got something I need to bring up, just bring y'all up to speed on it.
Okay.
You know, I was concerned that Highway 67 about during the Helene, it was water that I had
Yep.
never saw on the road before on
Mhm.
67.
Yep.
I found out what the problem was. It blowed out at the end down there. Somebody had it stopped up. So
Oh.
it
You're talking about
blowed
close
up.
to Carlton
And
and Millender?
I was so worried because I said Sanborn Road has a 36-inch culvert.
Yeah.
It's supposed to take all that water that could be there, and it wasn't taking it, and it was backing up, and also now we found the problem.
Good.
So is that
Well,
close
it's
to
not no
Carlton?
problem no more.
Is it
It's
close
like-
to Carlton and Millender Road?
Yes.
Okay. I know where the problem's at then. So I will tell the board,
It blowed out.
I'll give it to Michael so he can email it to y'all. I was gonna wait till the day to do it because it's public. So I was able to attend the United Firefighters Association meeting the other
Good.
day in East Point.
Yeah.
And I have notes from that meeting,
Yeah.
so you guys can know what was discussed
That's so
about, well, there was some anxiousness about this radio system, but I tried to explain to them, guys, that's why we're we're about to be in the design phase.
Engineering and design.
Engineering and design, so we can take the input that you're given and try to incorporate in what we're designing, so it's gonna meet everybody's needs, and I think it's gonna be better. So we even talked about the fact that I think St. George Island's already using the FirstNet, which is AT&T. And in the meeting, one of their firefighters was able to communicate with their chief, which happened to be in Colquitt County, Georgia at the time,
Wow.
on this little handheld device. So if nothing else, I told him, so look, that's a good redundancy to add into this grant we're doing.
Yeah.
So we can get that for everybody. Everybody can have their radio, they can have a fallback radio.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll send those to you, Michael, so you can give them to the rest of the commission.
Okay.
Thanks for going to that meeting
Oh,
because
it's no
we
problem.
need to have a.
I'm glad they had the meeting finally. 'cause
Yeah, no, it was good.
Yeah.
Now, they didn't vote on a new chief yet, or assistant chief, or however they're gonna do it, president, or whatever they call it. But they did discuss it, and they plan on doing that vote in January, because every fire department was not there. Most of them were there, but not every one of them. All right, anyone else?
I got one thing, I'm gonna be quick,
What's up?
because this is the best way, maybe some people were watching or whatever, but that is fiber optic that they're running out there into the district. On my phone, I've got 2 messages already trying to figure out what the flags are for out in District 4 off of 12th Street, and that's Consolidated Communications running. They got an extension to the money, or they got more money to extend the fiber optic out into, from Highland Park all the way to Squire Road into the outlying areas. So that is, maybe that'll answer some questions.
Yes. They're doing the same thing on St. George Island. They are. And the Turner Shore, we need to have on the meeting for the next meeting. I did forget to bring it up today because I didn't think nothing about fiber. We need to have a discussion about the board authorizing you to send a letter to residents. Basically, if it's in our right of way and you have value to it, you probably need to move it. Because they're coming around and they're not gonna
They
take
move.
time to.
Not taking any prisoners?
No.
They move it.
Yeah, they move it. But they're trying to install fiber in the entirety of St. George Island and what they're doing in Appalachian. I'll be honest with you, in talking to representatives from Consolidated, they're looking at how these projects are working for them, and they would like to do more in Franklin County, but they're going to use these as their gauge. That's all I'll say about it. I believe that's fair, and it's not coloring it either way.
I asked them to do fiber optic to my house.
Well,
They said they wouldn't do it.
If y'all remember some of the discussions we had a year ago about the broadband and all that, I made that comment about I had some fiber optic and I'm very happy. So if you get the opportunity,
Yeah.
especially on the island,
It does work.
it is awesome. So,
That's good.
Yep. Anyone else? All right, meeting adjourned.